there, and he was not accepted. Well, that turned out to be a blessing, literally. He enrolled in Salve Regina University, which doesn't play destructive games, 3.8 grade point average, a varsity lacrosse experience, very successful semester at Oxford College. The lad overcame the BC equity play that punched him in the mouth. But everybody is not so fortunate. Equity, no good. Back in a moment. You don't wait for your car to break down before you get an oil change, right? So why wait until you're sick to get medications you need? All Family Pharmacy makes it easy. Get ivermectin, antibiotics, and more. With a prescription included, no hassle. Order online and they'll ship it right to your door. Stock up now at allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 for 10% off. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Slight chance for a shower overnight, mainly to the northeast of St. Louis. Otherwise, dry by daybreak, a low of 43. Partly cloudy skies and a nice Tuesday. Not too windy and a high of 64. It may sound cool, but the normal high is 60, so it's slightly above normal. And Wednesday's going to be even warmer. Cool in the morning, low of 41, but 67 in the afternoon with plenty of sunshine and another dry day. That's the latest from First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Did you reserve your tickets yet? We announced the big event on Monday's program. Glenn Jacobs, for you wrestling fans out there, that's Kane from the WWF/WWE. Well, now he's a major voice in the Liberty movement, and I'm telling you, he is a legit, not just policy wonk, but he's a legit leader when it comes to small government and constitutional government. And Glenn Jacobs is going to be here through this event from Americans for Prosperity and News Talk STL. Also appreciate the Missouri Young Republicans being a part of this as well. Go to newstalkstl.com and you will see Glenn's picture right there, and you can reserve your free tickets. It's happening on April 16th, but you got to have a ticket to get in. They're free, but go ahead and get them now because this is going to be a capacity event. All right. Hey, good morning. It is Tuesday, obviously. We're going to get you up to date on what's happening with all of the news around the region and the country, starting right around 6:04 or so. Really good conversation on a lot of those things in the headlines with our Congressman Bob Onder, and including the news that the next generation of fighter jets is going to be made right here in the St. Louis area. That is a big impact on the whole region. Here's what the congressman had to say.
Bob, great to chat with you again. Had a great time, obviously, visiting on Friday in the St. Charles Lincoln days. But let me start with that. That news kind of came out late on Friday, but the F-47s, they're going to be made in St. Louis. Obviously, a lot of the area that you represent is going to be affected by this. This is a massive piece of good news for the St. Louis economy for years and years to come. What's your take on the effect this is going to have?
Yeah, that was great news. And that was a great event, by the way, on Friday night. But yes, huge news that the F-47, you've got to love the name, is going to be built by Boeing in St. Louis. Many of my constituents work at Boeing. That's a huge economic boon to the St. Louis area. And, great news that we are beginning production or are beginning to work on a sixth generation jet, because although, the defense budget is bloated just like every other part of government, we do need to stay at the cutting edge of technology. We do still live in a dangerous world. So great news all around.
Congressman Susie Moore, great to talk to you again. I have a question for you. With you all coming back in session this week, I know there's going to be a lot of focus on budget and reconciliation and that sort of thing. But obviously, one of the big story of the second Trump administration has been the efforts of DOGE. And do you see a path forward for House Republicans to get some of the cuts and the efficiency measures that DOGE is suggesting implemented via legislation?
Yes, I absolutely think we need to do that, Susie. Of course, in the process of the reconciliation bill, we are making cuts to so-called mandatory programs, but there are huge opportunities for efficiencies. I think DOGE is just getting started. But yes, as those things get revealed, as you know, many times federal activist judges are trying to block those efforts to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. So I think it's going to be essential that we put a lot of those savings into legislation. But although I do stand by the right of President Trump, the duty of President Trump to eliminate those items from departments' budgets when they are found to be wasteful.
We're visiting with Congressman Bob Onder. And to follow up Susie's question on that, Bob, if and when Congress codifies a lot of these cuts have been called for in the executive order, do you think that makes some of the battles against this in the courts sort of moot in some ways, or is it going to be just another realm of the legal battles? Because obviously you've got the 15 executive orders now. We've got lawsuits going back and forth on it, not just with the DOGE cuts, but also with literally deporting people who have been who are confirmed to be in the country illegally and who have been declared to be part of violent gangs.
Yeah, a couple of things there. One is the issue about the resources to deport people. The resources to deport people in this country illegally, violent and otherwise, those will be provided in the reconciliation bill. The House bill that we passed last month, the big, beautiful bill, includes money for both border security and internal enforcement, detention beds, ICE agents, and so on to detain and deport illegals. But no, we really have an enormous problem with left-wing activism on the bench. Chuck Schumer said this just on Thursday. He started by saying our democracy is at risk. The good news is that we have put 235 judges on the bench last year, progressive judges that rule against Trump time after time after time in over 100 lawsuits against Trump. Notice how he contradicts himself. He talks about democracy. President Trump was elected in a landslide on November 5th. But these unelected judges who he doesn't say they are constitutionalists or are following the rule of law, he said they are progressive judges. So we need to rein back on this legislating from the bench. Trump is appropriately using his executive powers, and we cannot, every time the ACLU or some pro-illegal immigration group runs to court, we can't adjudicate every one of those cases, as Schumer said, already 100 of them at the U.S. Supreme Court. At some point, we need to put an end to this lawfare and make it clear that the president does have the ability to protect us and the border, as is his constitutional duty.
Bob, do you see a way for Congress to act? I mean, there's been some discussion about this, and I know some lawmakers are introducing bills already about reining in the scope of the lower federal court jurisdiction, and addressing this use of the nationwide injunction. Do you see that as a path forward for you all as well?
Yes, I think those are both good paths forward. Right before we left for our in-session week, so about a week and a half ago now, we passed out of the House Judiciary Committee Congressman Darrell Iss's bill to make it clear that nationwide injunctions are not to be issued when you have a clear-cut party or two in a case. If I were suing Mike and we file and one of the parties, one of us filed for injunctive relief, judges wouldn't issue an injunction that would pertain to the entire country. The judge would issue an injunction that pertained to our lawsuit, the two of us. So this is just liberal activism at its worst, and I think that one approach is Congressman Iss's approach of limiting the use of nationwide injunctions. I believe it was I'm thinking it was Mike Lee, perhaps, who had a bill to require a 3-judge panel. But the only problem with that is you could just get 3 liberal activist judges. Right. So I think we do need to we need to rein in this abuse. The president under Article 2 is vested with the executive power, and every time there's an executive action, the idea that some leftist judge, rubber stamped by Chuck Schumer, is going to get a veto power over that executive action, that's just utterly ridiculous, and it's not constitutional.
Okay, so is this about pushing back against judges who are ruling against Donald Trump, or is this about setting the lanes from here on out, saying it doesn't matter who the president is or who the judges are, this is where your lane begins and ends, and this is where their lane begins and ends? Because I think there's a lot of resettling and re-clarifying what the roles of government are, because apparently we've forgotten that song from Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, 100%, Mike. Yeah, anything we would do would apply to future presidents as well, Republican and Democrat alike. But by and large, the right has not done this. Conservative judges have not done this. In the last 2 months, federal judges have issued more injunctions against Donald Trump than Joe Biden or Barack Obama in their whole presidency. So, it's clear that it's just like all the lawfare against Donald Trump over the last 6 years. We're seeing lawfare against his policies after he won a landslide election. It's just utterly unacceptable.
Okay, just got a minute or so left here. Congressman Bob Onder, I want to ask about the steps now being taken to dismantle the Department of Education. That's going to now fall to Congress to do that. In a strange way, even though the majority is much smaller in the House than in the Senate percentage-wise, my guess is that if a chamber is going to advance the needed legislation, I think there's a better chance in the House of that getting actually through. What's the talk in the Republican caucus right now?
Yeah, we're all in. We do need to dismantle the Department of Education. There's some things that the Department of Education do that will be moved over to other departments, like special needs, services moved over to the Department of Health and Senior Services, Title IX enforcement moved over to the Justice Department, student loans moved over to the Treasury. But look, the experiment of federalizing education, which began during the Carter administration and that every Republican president has pledged to dismantle, Donald Trump is finally doing it. But as you say, it will require the action of Congress. And I think there's a lot of appetite for that in the House Republican Conference.
All right, Congressman Bob Onder, really appreciate you giving us the update. And it was great to see you on Friday as well, because we talk and text a lot, but when I walked in, I'm like, oh yeah, we haven't actually seen each other in person in a few weeks.
There is that guy. He's actually here in Missouri. Yeah, it was great.
All right, let's talk. 314-912-1019. I cannot stress it enough. April 16th, if you want to see Glenn Jacobs, maybe even meet him in person, go to newstalkstl.com and reserve your seats at the Torch the Tax event, because what we want to do is make this part of the movement to get rid of the income tax in Missouri, but this is going to be a lot of fun. So newstalkstl.com for more information. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet-friendly, and built to last. Free in-home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Well, you can go it alone or keep it in between.
Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, just how low, I should say, will the extreme left go? Well, we may find out this weekend because looks like a lot of them really are serious about trying to blow up cars they don't like and attack the people. That's the next step, Jerome, is attacking the people who are driving the cars. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in just a minute. All right, don't forget our Torch the Tax event, which we announced yesterday with Americans for Prosperity, happens April 16th. Join us, join Americans for Prosperity, and Glenn Jacobs. Woo! He's going to be here at the Funny Bone in St. Charles. Tickets are free, but you have to get a ticket to get in. Go to newstalkstl.com, find the picture of Glenn Jacobs, and you can reserve your tickets there. This is going to fill up. Yeah, that button right there. There you go.
There's the button. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd be surprised if that place is not absolutely packed.
Oh yeah, it is going to be. So get your tickets now. Now here's the thing: is if you hear that and you're like, I absolutely want to be there to see Glenn Jacobs, maybe even meet Glenn Jacobs, get your picture taken with Glenn Jacobs, who's a very large man. Then go ahead and grab your tickets. Don't get one if you're like, maybe not, because if you reserve one, somebody's not going to get one who wants to be there.
Yeah, this is one of those things where obviously, people know Kane the wrestler and they might want to show up, but this is actually, again, this is a movement that's going to affect Missouri. We would need as many people there that are serious about showing up to be there as possible.
And there will be other speakers and other people added to this that we'll be announcing in the next, couple weeks as well. But hey, and listen, I'm not even saying the wrestling questions are off the table. They're not. If you've got one, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer it as well. But this is part of the effort to get rid of the income tax in the state of Missouri. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So check that out. All right. March 29th is the declared Tesla takedown day. Remains to be seen if the far left extremists are going to follow through on their plans to attack, more vehicles and business locations and things like that. But there actually was another violent attempt. This happened in the Austin, Texas area. This is a reporter for a TV station down there, Fox 7, and her name is Tan Radford, reporting on what happened.
The Austin Police Department's bomb squad was called out to a Tesla dealership in North Austin Monday for several suspicious devices later deemed flammable. The bomb scare adds to the number of Tesla attacks under investigation across the country. There have been targeted incidents in at least 9 states since the beginning of the year. The Trump administration is calling for an end to the violent crimes. There have been Tesla takedown protests held at the dealership this month. Although the group has been vocal about their stance, the protesters have not been linked to Monday's bomb scare at the car lot.
I can't think of, I mean, listen, there are protests with which I disagree because we have different opinions on things, but I get the protest. I'm not a big protest guy myself. I'm not going to generally march in the street. I have spoken at a number of rallies and things like that over the years. But this has got to be one of the dumbest ever protest movements I've ever seen. And then to take this to the violent level, Jerome, is just beyond stupid.
So I don't mind protests as long as they are conducted the right way, because
Peaceful,
again, I'm a Bill of Rights absolutist, your First Amendment, everything like that. But this is just domestic terrorism being disguised as a quote unquote protest. You don't have the right to go out and destroy people's property and to intimidate and terrorize a specific group of people because you disagree with them politically.
Right. Or in this case, you may not even disagree with them politically. You're just mad because of the car they're driving.
Yeah, I thought the left loved EVs, and they're supposed to be good for climate change. How much CO2 is being produced right now because you're destroying these?
Yeah, because as Gabe was telling us last week, you set one of these things on fire, you just have to let the battery burn out. There's nothing to put the fire out chemically to do that. So the protest outside of a Tesla dealership. Okay, you've got the right to do it. You just look like a moron. I mean, it's like, I don't even really get mad at them if they're just protesting peacefully. I just kind of roll my eyes and think, you're really dumb. And like, I've seen the videos, like somebody driving a Tesla and he's like putting up his cameras, and somebody like comes up to him at the stoplight and starts screaming at him because he's driving a Tesla. Well, you're an idiot for doing that.
Yeah. Don't you have like mature adult abilities to control your emotions and not act like a toddler?
Apparently not. Just do what the rest of us fully grown adults do when somebody's driving a Tesla or an EV. We just sort of snicker and giggle and point fingers and make fun of them. Like the adults do. And it has nothing to do with politics. It's just because I know that you can't get from here to Kansas City without stopping and recharging with an extension cord.
Well, hopefully Danny Define's not listening right now.
I know.
He loves his Tesla.
We give him a hard time about that when he was in here. All right, real quick. I'm going to mention with all the sports updates here in a little bit in the morning news dump. The Blues play tonight, and they're on TV, like old school TV, like antenna TV tonight.
Oh, wow.
I love that. Channel 4, one of the other signals that they own or that they operate is called Matrix TV. It's channel 32 over the air, as in like over the air. I mean, in my living room, I've got my TV, and then everything is streaming and online, except I have an antenna, digital antenna. So you can actually watch the Blues on over the air TV tonight. The game starts at 7, pregame starts at 6:30. And there have been around the country some other areas where every once in a while you're going to see, a Major League Baseball game. If you want to call Major League Soccer a real sport, you can watch one of those over the air, but hockey and things like that. So they're dipping their toe back into over the air. I mean, when I was a kid, man, I remember I lived in Decatur, Illinois. So in the daytime, we had cable, and it was WGN, which was over the air in Chicago, but we got it piped in on what used to be known as a cable system. And so we'd watch the Chicago Cubs in the daytime, and then KPLR here in St. Louis had the Cardinals. And you could watch the Cardinals at night, which would then, be piped in cable. So the old days of just over the air sports, I hope to come back. I'm not talking about, the Fox, game of the week, which airs on Saturdays or, that sort of thing. But I'm just thinking it's really cool that that the local pro sports team is going to be on local over the air radio. And I hope this catches on.
As it should be.
As should be. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed watching the tournament, and I just watched, CBS over the air with that, but I just thought that's really cool. that we have that channel there. I don't know who's running Matrix other than it's affiliated with KMOV, but they're going to be on the air. So I'm going to try to catch a few minutes of that before I go to bed tonight. So I just think that's awesome. So way to go, KMOV Gray Media team, for doing that, and for the Blues for agreeing to put that game, because the Blues are staying pretty hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the update for you with the news dump coming your way right around 6:04.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Seavers JCB, a trusted leader in agriculture and construction. Connect with SeaversJCB.com and browse their inventory, or stop by and let them show you the capabilities of the JCB lineup. Telebooms, skid steers, loaders, forklifts, excavators, backhoes, and more. JCB has pushed diesel to its limits with machines that now emit 50% less CO2. JCB's new Icon software system will blow your mind, offering iConfigure, iConnect, and iControl. Learn more at SeaversJCB.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
It's worth remembering that all the celebration of this day,
the 4th of July,
independence of America,
a day that just brings everybody close,
is rooted in history.
Happy birthday, America, from News Talk STL.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes.
HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL.
.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Democrats are outraged and Senate Republicans none too pleased about a reporter's claim that he was able to join an online session with top defense officials on plans to attack the Houthis in Yemen.
Democrats are demanding to know how the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine was allowed to join a group chat. They criticized the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and others for discussing details about a planned missile attack via a commercially available app and for not doing more to verify the identities of all involved. Majority Leader John Thune told reporters on Monday Republican senators will get to the bottom of what happened. Bob Agnew reporting.
Defense Secretary Hegseth takes issue with the claim made by the Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg. Following yesterday's talks with the Russians, today, U.S. ceasefire negotiators are back at the table, this time talking with Ukrainian officials. There's a sign of warming relations between Washington and Moscow.
The Kremlin confirms Russian President Vladimir Putin has given President Trump a portrait Putin had commissioned of President Trump. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov said it was given to Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff during a visit to Moscow earlier this month. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, Witkoff described Trump as clearly touched by the portrait, which he described as beautiful. In 2018, Putin gave Trump a soccer ball that the Secret Service checked for listening devices before Trump gave it to his son, harkening back to a Soviet-era gift to a U.S. diplomat that turned out to be bugged. I'm Ben Thomas.
Citing national security concerns, Attorney General Bondi has invoked state secrets privilege and refusing to provide a federal district judge with flight data regarding the deportation of about 200 suspected Venezuelan gang members. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 17 points, S&P futures 2 points higher. More on these stories at Town Hall.
Hear me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief.
Dog diet should be as colorful as yours. Dr. Fido's Dog Food Topper, a plant-based topper featuring ingredients from 40 whole foods, just stir into their food to enrich your dog's diet. Vet-developed, dog-trusted. But don't just take our word for it.
She even used to work cattle and lots of miles under her feet, and she is happier on the Dr. Fido's. I've been super impressed with it.
Go to drfidos.com today and subscribe to save $20 each month. That's drphytos.com.
5.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy? Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Pfeiffer. Get up, St. Louis.
The best answer to the toxicity of the left is the truth.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, just because President Trump and probably a majority of Americans wants it doesn't mean it's going to actually happen, guys. Democrats are vowing to preserve that big waste of money known as the Department of Education.
Oh, they're struggling hard on this one.
Knew that was going to be the case here. And did high-ranking national security officials accidentally tell a magazine editor about planned military strikes by text?
I'm hearing weird reports about this whole situation, so
goodness.
I'm very interested to hear what you got.
And are the playoffs a possibility for the Blues? Mathematically, yeah, this could actually happen. All right, it's 6:06 right now. Let's go and dump some news on you. Get it going.
Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, President Trump continuing his move to dismantle the Department of Education. Of course, you know about that executive order instructing Education Secretary Linda McMahon to wind down the department's operations, what she calls the department's final mission. Senate Minority Leader Chucky Schumer expressed anger with the move, and he vows Democrats will not allow that legislation to pass.
Let me be very clear. If Republicans ever try to move a bill through the Senate that shuts down the Department of Education, Senate Democrats will halt it in its tracks. It will go nowhere. It will be dead on arrival.
Okay, so we know that legislation has to pass in order for the department to be dismantled. We know Democrats are against that, so they have the filibuster. They can't stop it. This is one of those few times where doing what's called the political nuclear option, which is a procedural thing called calling the previous question that nobody wants to do. If the Republicans are serious about delivering it, this is the time to pick that fight and use that maneuver. We'll see whether they have the guts to do it. My guess is they don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to tell right now if Republicans are really understanding the full weight of the responsibility they have to deliver on these things because of how big of an opportunity this is, which I don't think is going to come back around in our lifetime for sure.
I think you're right.
So I haven't seen the sense of urgency to do these big red things at the national level quite as much as I'd like, but here's hoping, I suppose.
We'll see. Basically, I think it's going to come down to how bought into this idea is the president, and how much leverage is he going to apply, and how much pressure is he going to apply on the Republicans to go all out. Yeah. All right. It looks like national security officials mistakenly texted military strike plans to a magazine editor. This is crazy. Here's the story.
The editor-in-chief for The Atlantic reports that he received war plans for military strikes in Yemen 2 hours before the March 15th attack. Jeffrey Goldberg was included in a group chat in a secure messaging app. The National Security Council said the text chain appears to be authentic and was looking into how a journalist's number was added to the chain in the Signal group chat. President Trump, when asked, said he was unaware of the incident. Greg Clugston, Washington.
So you ever texted somebody and you went, oops, sorry, that wasn't for you?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, one of my baseball teams has a big group text, and we're like, okay, we're practicing here. Here's what jerseys we're doing. And then this morning I wake up and somebody was saying, hey, pick up some garlic on the way home. And we're like, wrong thread, dude. That happens.
Yeah.
But we weren't planning military strikes in Yemen.
Yeah, this whole story is very weird. I was also seeing a report that it was Mike Walls, I believe, the national security advisor, who was the one who mistakenly added the journalist into that group. I'm also trying to figure out what secure app we're talking about.
It was because I actually did see that the story. It was like not Waze or Snap. I don't know,
like WhatsApp or something.
Well, I think it was WhatsApp.
Was it WhatsApp? Yeah. So, I mean, I don't like the idea of anything going out over a non-U.S. military or U.S. government-owned app to begin with.
Yes.
You know, so there's several things wrong with this whole situation to me, and it's like, I don't know. It's all really weird. And also, what are these discussions? Why are they happening via text?
Right. Yeah.
So many questions that I have, and
I mean, when we have the big text message, we're usually deciding what the batting order is going to be and whether we're going to shift for this one guy when he comes up to bat. That's okay for text because we don't have military implications. Listen, I'm willing to absolutely believe this was a mistaken fat finger thing. We've all done it, but we all don't have the authority to plan military strikes in areas of the country where they export terrorism to us.
Right. Now, I suppose this wasn't during the planning phase. This was during the operational. It was
right before the strike.
It was well past the operational phase. All those assets were in motion.
Yeah.
So it's not as though they were planning it in front of a journalist, but still, that's you don't want to just kind of throw that information out there. Certainly before the strikes are going to happen.
And
so really weird.
Secretary Pete Hegseth, tried to slam it and fake news and all that kind of stuff, but the National Security Council said, yeah, it looks authentic. And the guy from The Atlantic actually published screenshots. So
oh, geez.
It happened.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's it. Well, here's the thing. I know Doge has been kind of shutting down a whole bunch of, app development and all these other things and that are stupid in other departments. I think they should fund an exclusive government chat app if they're going to be chatting anywhere, right? So then you have to put in your government password in order to get to it, and you're not going to ever fat finger somebody who's outside the chain.
Yeah, seems like the technology is there.
You'd think
to keep people off the military planning text messages. Jeez,
so crazy.
All right. The Trump administration pushing back against the lower courts, saying they do not have the power to block actions of the executive branch. And this is, of course, after that injunction was issued by a judge to halt deportations of illegal aliens using the Alien Enemies Act. Senator Josh Hawley, you're going to be surprised to hear this, Gabe. He was on Fox News last night.
No way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he is.
So rare.
Yeah, Senator Josh Hawley was on the Ingram angle saying, yeah, he believes the courts are overstepping their authority.
What they're doing is they're purporting, these judges, they're purporting to go out and to bind parties and individuals who aren't before them. They're purporting to bind people who aren't in their district. We only have one Supreme Court that can bind the whole nation. District courts aren't supposed to be able to do it.
Now, there is legislation that's been introduced in the House. It's called the No Rogue Rulings Act that would limit lower courts' abilities to issue these injunctions. So it's going to be very interesting times to sort all of this out, I think.
Absolutely. Now, I'm wondering, though, in terms of jurisdictional authority, if that stuff doesn't already exist. You know?
Way over my head. I don't know.
I don't know.
All right. ICE carries out raids in Boston. And this, of course, is after the city's mayor, Michelle Wu, promised last week that she would not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. Border czar Tom Homan was on the Ingram angle as well on Fox. He says this was a big operation.
I kept my promise, and we arrested 370 people, majority of them criminals. And as you said, murderers, child rapists. We seized guns. We drug traffickers, gun traffickers.
I don't mean to nitpick, but hopefully they were all criminals. Even just being in the country illegally is a criminal act. So let's to be clear, everybody was a criminal, I hope.
Yeah, I think, just based on the usage of those words, I think the idea was
the violent
criminals was what he was. The way he uses the word tends to be that way.
All right, a couple things in sports here. The Cardinals squeaked out a win over the minor league Redbirds in Memphis. That's a great sign for the season. Final score in Memphis was 3-2. All of the runs in the game were scored in the first inning, so there was a very exciting first inning, and then apparently very uneventful 8 innings after that. The Cardinals' runs were from a 3-run home run by Nolan Arenado. Up next is opening day against the Twins, Busch Stadium on Thursday afternoon. We are 2 days away from opening day.
Man, that's wild.
Do you think they're going to sell out, or will there be empty seats? I think there's going to be empty seats.
Probably some empty seats.
I think there's going to be empty seats. Yeah. All right. The Blues are on home ice tonight. The Canadians are in town for this one. That is a 7:00 puck drop. Now, get this, guys. The Blues are in the wild card race.
That's crazy.
You remember beginning of the season, we were talking about, we're like, you know what? If they can even be mentioned in the wild card race towards the end, that would be, they're mathematically in the wild card race because they have been kicking so much butt in the last 12, 13 games they've played. This has been crazy.
It's been a crazy run. It
really
has.
So in the wild card, solidly in the wild card race with only 10 games to go. Tonight's game, as I mentioned, is on Channel 32. It's on over the air. Pregame over the air, broadcast over the air. Channel 32. Yeah.
Like you just need a piece of metal on the top of your house, and you can actually get it.
Just need that antenna, and you're gonna have to rescan. It's a channel called Matrix, which is 32, and it's affiliated with KMOV.
Oh wow, okay.
It's kind of a sports and entertainment channel. So I think that's really cool that it's going to be over the air.
Finally.
So 6:30 pregame, 7:00 puck drop, and you can watch it. You can watch it on your broadcast television. I hope we get a lot more of that. All right, 314-912-1019. Boy, the race for mayor got awkward over the weekend.
Oh, really?
Just now finding out. You ever crash somebody else's party when they didn't invite you?
Oh, no.
One of the candidates on the ballot did that. Guess which one had the audacity to do that and just stand there and sulk?
Wow, no way.
It happened. I will tell you who and what happened at 6:20. This is going to be ugly once this is all done. All right, that's coming your way here at 6:20 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
to fight your
Connor
war.
Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
History, wine, spirits, food, and music, plus an awesome name. That's the Old House in Hog Hollow. This beautiful historic home's been turned into a wine bar and event venue that can host any and all of your gatherings. Take a tour while enjoying a glass of wine and see all the original features that are still around from the 1850s. Open Thursday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and brunch, with live music on select dates paired with wine tasting. Find them at 14319 Olive Boulevard in Chesterfield or online at oldhouseinhoghollow.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Well, there you go again. Listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
All right, let's see here. The race for mayor in the city is just getting weird. Ever show up to a party when you weren't invited?
I've never actually done that. I've never had the audacity. Well, first of all, I'm an introvert, so I after a while of refusing parties, I stopped getting invites to begin with. But if I were ever not invited to a party and showed up, people would think it would be the end of the world anyway. But this is fascinating to me. Like the idea that you would do that, like anybody would have the audacity to do this, is fascinating to me.
I will tell you about it here in just a couple of minutes. It's coming up on 6:20 right now. All right, don't forget to April 16th, Torch the Tax. This is a great event. News Talk STL, Americans for Prosperity. Glenn Jacobs, better known as Kane, former world heavyweight wrestling champion, now leader in the liberty movement, man, the freedom movement. And this is such a sharp guy. I've met him before. He's going to be in St. Louis. You can be there, maybe even meet him yourself, but you got to have one of the free tickets. So go to newstalkstl.com, look for that picture of Glenn, and you can reserve your tickets to be there. This is going to fill up. If you can make it on the 16th, get your tickets now. Basically.
I just wish the venue could accommodate his pyrotechnics.
Yeah, no, it cannot do that.
Sadly.
Maybe we'll get 4 guys around the stage with a lighter. Just like, boom, there it is. All right. Before we get to this awkward situation in the mayor's race, who is it? Scott that's on?
Yes, we have a caller named Scott.
Hey,
and
Scott.
He's got a couple of questions for us.
You're on News Talk STL, man.
Good morning, gentlemen. I was born about 100 years too late for all the tech stuff, but it would seem to me that how that scurrilous reporter from the Atlantic, and he's about as anti-Trump as you can get.
Yeah.
It seems as though whoever was in the text chain has his contact information, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
Right.
You'd have to.
Yeah, because it had to be a click on a name, to do that. So somebody's got him in their contacts. Yeah.
So somebody within the cabinet's a weasel that decides to associate with that guy. And how is it possible that these cabinet folks don't have to give up their own private phones, et cetera, to have one issued by the government that's secure with only limited contact?
See, that's a fair question, because if you are in the position to where you are planning who and where and what's going to happen with high level military, lethality type of strikes, I would, or just have access to, national security, like secrets and stuff like that. I kind of wondered something similar, but you put it in better words than I was going to, Scott. That's a darn good question.
Well, it just seems insane that there aren't secure lines available for these folks to communicate. I mean, to my knowledge, Trump just literally cannot call out on a phone. He is always on a secure line that's gotten for him. And if any of these folks are involved in that, it just, I don't know. I think there are always moles and always problematic people, no matter what they say and who they work for.
Yeah, that absolutely could be. My guess is they're going to tighten up the ship a lot after this, but how many times has this happened and we just now figured out somebody else got added who was just a former bureaucrat or a former congressperson or whatever, but this time it's a hostile media personality of hostile media.
I mean, my goodness, a guy from the Atlantic.
Yeah, of all places, right?
Oh, man.
Holy crap. Yeah. It's like, thinking you're in good company talking with David Frum. I mean,
don't worry about it.
Day.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Yeah, don't worry about it, guys. I mean, sure, I accidentally put Don Lemon on, but whatever.
You're not wrong. Yeah, honestly, should be a secure government phone with secure government apps. That's what it should be.
Right. For something like this. I mean, what's interesting, can you imagine getting a text and looking through and realizing the vice president is on my text thread? What?
What is this?
Because JD Vance was on that.
So Corporal Being is saying what they were using is actually Signal, which I've used.
Signal.
It's actually a very secure, encrypted method of communication. It was more so somebody accidentally added in, because you can also add your own private contacts and stuff like that. So that may be what actually happened is.
But still, you should have to log in to get it.
And that's a good point. Having secure devices, because if you're using your own personal device, I mean, how do you know you don't have spyware or like a keylogger that somebody put on there? So that's a very good point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Government phone, government apps for communication. We have the technology. We can improve the way we do these things.
and be careful with your fat finger. You got that kind of responsibility. You're responsible for not including people on the chat that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. And I think the caller made a good observation that if this contact is if this person is in your contacts, I don't know what that says about you. If you got somebody from the Atlantic in your,
well, I mean, I got a bunch of left wingers in my phone.
True. Maybe I'll give a little leeway, but
there's a bunch of left wingers have me on their contact list.
But you're the type of guy to actually go out and get these people for the show.
Right.
If you work in the National Security Office, why do you have any journalists on speed dial? You know what I mean?
It's part of the fantasy football league. Okay, get this. I'm not going to say who gave me the heads up on this story at 3:00 in the morning, because Stell should have been asleep still.
Come on, Stell.
You got a new schedule, Stell. Sleep in now. I'm just saying.
But we know you're listening, but you should
right,
be.
Because we know you're not asleep right now. Interesting. Elliot Davis, he just retired out of Fox 2, but he's still doing, kind of covering things online. And on Sunday, if you go to Elliot Davis's Facebook page, his like media page, so Elliot Davis TV, he says, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. On Sunday, Mayor Tashara Jones crashed Alderwoman Cara Spencer's campaign meet and greet in North St. Louis.
She actually did this.
She just showed up.
Just showed up and it's
just folded her arms and just kind of stood there brooding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is not a good look.
It's a terrible look. Matter of fact, the last sentence Elliot writes, not a good look at all.
No, it's not.
I mean, wow.
How are you anybody in that room even? And you see her sitting there and you're like, oh no, Tashara Jones is glaring at me disapprovingly. Maybe I should change my vote.
Right.
No, you're thinking, this lady is crazy.
This is nuts. Yeah. So here's the way that Elliot Davis writes the story on this. Cara Spencer was having a get together with her supporters in the Baden area today, and all of a sudden, the woman she's running against, Mayor Tashara Jones, showed up. Spencer was speaking, and Mayor Jones stood in the corner with her arms folded. Apparently, the mayor didn't say anything, but her presence made a lot of people there uncomfortable, with one posting pictures on social media, and then he posts some pictures that somebody snapped, and that's in that post there. And yeah, you can see Kara Spencer speaking to the group, and off to the side, there is Mayor Tashara Jones. Strangest thing I've ever heard of. Kara Spencer confirmed to me that Mayor Jones did indeed crash her event, but she didn't comment at the time. She later did go on to make a comment. This tells me Tashara Jones knows that she's on the way out.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's absolutely aware and mad about it.
Oh yes. I mean, I think this is going to be some ugliness.
Oh yes.
To this.
It bodes. I won't say it. I'm trying to think of what it bodes. It doesn't bode well.
No,
certainly for the upcoming campaign. That that it's going to be in everything up and up, and everybody's going to be adhering to the Queen Marquis of Queensberry rules on how this is going to go. She's going to be like not cool about
They're
this.
They're going to be like changing the passwords on all the computer system on the way out, making it hard. So here's the statement that Kara Spencer gave to Elliot Davis. And again, credit goes to Elliot Davis. He's retired, but he's still doing what he knows how to do. She goes on to say, and I'm quoting, "Over the last 10 years, I have run 5 campaigns, had about a dozen opponents. Never, not once, has one of those opponents crashed a meet and greet, a safe space for voters to meet and have a conversation with a candidate. I have never seen or even heard of any candidate coming into an opponent's event with a team of people in any other race until yesterday. Last night, Tashara and her crew, including a city-paid security detail, crashed a meet and greet hosted for me in Baden. When informed this was an opportunity for residents to hear from me, she refused to leave and instead started walking around the seated crowd and introducing herself, eventually seating herself in one of the audience chairs. It was intimidating and insulting to the folks hosting, to me and my team. The lack of decorum was frankly shocking."
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. It's crazy.
I mean, that's just
I don't understand. It's one thing, obviously, to show up at an event where you're both supposed to be there, and that's necessarily going to be an adversarial situation. Everybody knows what the deal is. A meet and greet for a very specific candidate says you shouldn't be there if you're the opposite.
How dare you?
Candidate. How dare you? It's not classy. She is a classless woman.
Yeah, and so she really ought to be thinking about, okay, how do you lose this graciously?
Yeah,
and then plan your next step.
That's what most other politicians do. If they see the writings on the wall and they're about to get drubbing, they give it the old college try, or at least they appear to do that. They lose graciously. They sit and wait and plan for the next. Sometimes they just jump right into the next thing. During the campaign, they're planning their next move.
Yeah.
Tashara Jones is just throwing a big public temper tantrum.
Yeah. And so here we go here in the next week and a half or so from the 2 week, I guess 2 weeks from today would be the general election day. And then that's going to mark the beginning of the end of the Tashara Jones tenure as mayor. And then we'll see what happens after that. All right, 314-912-1019. What a weird situation.
So weird.
We have debated on here some of the laws that are being proposed to protect kids online.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the federal laws that are being promoted. I just ran into our Secretary of State this past weekend, and we were talking about some of the controversies regarding the library system and one of the online app that the state contracts with not doing enough to keep kids away from the explicit materials. But could some of these laws be worse than could the cure be worse than the problem? And could there be additional problems created by trying to do the right thing and protect kids? Interesting take on that from some of the folks in the R Street Institute. We're going to talk to them right around 6:34 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
DOJ continues efforts to save the U.S. taxpayers' dollars, but judges, of course, are trying to block
every effort.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This is Elizabeth Kaiser. You want to give your dog the healthiest, tastiest, all-natural dog food and treats they'll beg for? 3 Raw Hounds, a company right here in our own backyard out of Wildwood, Missouri. Quality raw food and treats for dogs, all with USDA inspected ingredients. If you want the best for your dog, I know I do, visit 3 Raw Hounds. 3 is the number 3, rawhounds.com. Add the code STRAIGHTLINES to get 10% off your order. The number 3, rawhounds.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
We know what's going on.
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke. News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Jeffco Patriot Radio, this and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
On kind of a side note, Jay Monty posted on the Rumble in the chat box. He said, can we all just agree that journalism is dead?
Yes. Oh gosh,
yes,
it's been rotting.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think currently the various networks and the major news outlets have basically just been puppeteering its dead corpse around in front of us, like Weekend at Bernie's.
Damn, Gabe, that went dark really fast.
I'm just saying, journalism has been so far gone. It's like we're still using the what was it? Death becomes her techniques to keep it looking alive.
Oh man! By the way, we are 2 weeks. I just mentioned we're 2 weeks from Election Day for the primary election, or excuse me, the general elections for the municipal races around Missouri, which means that no excuse early voting, absentee voting starts today.
Right.
So whether you're in the city wanting to vote for mayor or any of the mayoral or the school board races around the metro area, you can go to your election authority and you can cast your vote today. I mean, when they open up, which probably is going to be 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on what city or county you're in, but you can start doing that now. Remember, these races oftentimes have 10 to 12 to 15% turnout. So a very few number of votes can absolutely change how things turn out.
These are a big deal. I think is it Ferg Floor? Yeah, I think Ferg Floor has a school board election. Coming up here. So
a lot of school boards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now I don't know if there's a conservative on the ticket, so I haven't been paying as close attention to Ferg Floor since my daughter graduated a while back. But yeah.
Yep. All right. It is 6:36 right now. We all want to protect kids from the really bad stuff online. I think we agree with that. We all want to do that.
Everybody.
So just pass a law.
Wait a minute.
That'll do it.
Wait a minute.
Just pass a law and it'll be fine. That's not how that works.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah.
All right. We're now joined by Spence Purnell from the R Street Institute here. Spence, thanks for being on the program. Interesting op-ed that you posted. You can find it at rstreet.org. Online safety laws could backfire in major ways, because we've had not quite 24, but over a dozen states have passed or they are working on laws to restrict minors, kids, from getting access to, the bad stuff, the gross stuff, the stuff that they shouldn't be looking at. Probably stuff that nobody should be looking at, but at least adults can choose for themselves, but the kids definitely shouldn't be looking at it. And it's easy from an emotional perspective, Spence, to just say, well, of course we want to block them from seeing that. Who would want to allow that? I'm not hearing you argue we want to allow the kids to access all the bad stuff, but the way these laws are being crafted is what I'm reading into your article here. What are the problems that could be caused by, frankly, people thinking they're trying to do the right thing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the spirit of the law is great, and I think we all definitely agree. That it's a laudable goal. We agree with the spirit of the legislation, but as I write in the article, we have to look realistically at what the data and the evidence say these laws do and what effects they have. And what the latest research that I highlighted in my article shows is that kids gravitate towards even more dangerous websites, sites that are foreign based, so they're not subject to U.S. law, so they don't have to comply with any of these things. So they might have more hackers, scammers, people trying to steal identification from youth. And so we just have to think realistically about what these laws are going to do to online behavior. And what most of the research shows is that teens and kids end up going to more dangerous websites, and they're going to places that are far less regulated. And so it's not that we don't want them, it's not that we do want them to go to the U.S. sites necessarily, but we have to keep them safe online. And if the laws do the opposite of that, then I think we really have to reconsider their efficacy and whether these are actually accomplishing what they set out to accomplish.
Morning, Spence. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So as I understand it, a number of these laws tend to be about age verification and similar things like that, requiring the websites to ask and therefore the consumer to respond. I imagine a lot of people just lie about that stuff unless there's some sort of enforcement mechanism, which seems to kind of run roughshod over privacy issues. Are you seeing those types of results from these laws as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There was another study that I don't cite in this particular article, but it was a case study examination of a website that would produce fake digital driver's license exactly for these purposes. The website was created, I think, less than a week after one of the first U.S. state laws went into effect. And this website saw like a 400% surge in traffic. So it's and the kids are honestly more digitally literate than we are. So like they know how to do this stuff. They know where these websites are. So yeah, like exactly. These laws require you to upload a government issued identification. So kids can either go online and get fake ones. They can use a virtual private network, which essentially makes it appear as if your computer is in a different geographic location than it is. So if you're in Florida and the law is here, the VPN will make it look like to the website that your computer's somewhere else so that the website will grant you access. And what also we found is that the VPNs contain scams sometimes as well. They're generally very safe technologies, but when there's a predictable surge in traffic and they know that it's going to be a vulnerable group like children, there's thousands of these VPN apps in the App Store, and not all of them are good. Some of them are scams. And so it's just, we're pushing the kids to more and more dangerous places. And yeah, this has been tried in other countries. Frankly, France passed a law like this in the 2010s for illegal music streaming. In order to enforce it, they had to track everyone's online behavior so much that even a French court ruled the law unconstitutional. So even if we wanted to enforce a law like this, we would have to so closely track who everyone is and exactly where they're going online that it would just fundamentally violate our constitutional rights. And so these laws just have no practical way to go forward. They're good in spirit, they're good in intention, but the scale and size of the internet, getting every single person to upload a government issued identity to visit a website is just not going to work.
So is there any role for government to be played here, or should we really just focus on the private sector and what can be done in those areas?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of private sector tools, right? Like Apple and Android report that the parent control tools are very underutilized. I think that those should be something that every single parent in the 2020s and 2030s should be familiar with and should be intimate with. It's something that as a civic, civically and as a culture, we have to pick up the pace on this. The digital world's not going anywhere. So we have to educate ourselves. We have to continue to acclimate to these technologies. And government has a huge role to play. We think there should be a lot more education in schools about digital safety and digital literacy. Schools can help educate parents. They can have clinics. Like, there's a lot the government can do to increase the utilization of these tools, increase public knowledge, continue to do good research like this on these websites and on these technologies so that we can know realistically what's happening and where people are going, where traffic is headed. So there's a huge role for government in this. It's just not telling us where we can and can't go and that we have to issue a government identity to get online. That's just not going to work. But yeah, and another thing is that the government already has a lot of federal laws about child sex trafficking and a lot of reporting about suspicious online behavior regarding kids that the federal government never investigates. And so we have plenty of public resources, but we're not actually enforcing all the laws on the books that we have to protect kids online. So it's like we have a lot we can do with existing law to keep kids safer that we're not. So we don't need to be passing new laws and continuing to add regulations, especially when if you would look up any piece of social science, it would tell you that these laws don't work, they're ineffective, and they're likely very unconstitutional. And so we're just not at a good place with those.
We're visiting with Spence Purnell, resident senior fellow for technology and innovation at the R Street Institute. The article is called Online Safety Laws Could Backfire in Major Ways. I think for a lot of people, there's a strong emotional appeal, Spence. It's a matter of, hey, we don't want kids drinking alcohol, so you got to show an ID to get into the bar, or get into whatever. We don't want kids sexualized early. You got to show an ID to get into, that strip club or whatever the case is. So if we at least put something in place, then we feel better about trying to get kids out. And gosh darn it, if the bad guys get around it, well, we tried because we know they're going to get around it. The kids are going to get around it. And then what I'm hearing you say is that we may be setting everybody up to be less successful in keeping the kids out than if we had, I don't want to say done nothing at all, but had done a more traditional approach.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for one thing I always say is that you have to be careful with digital and analog analogies, right? The liquor store doesn't have 1 billion customers waiting in line. Facebook does. So there's a fundamental difference in how we're going to age gate those two businesses. And the Supreme Court has recognized this. The law recognizes this. The internet in the digital world is very different than the analog. So it's tempting to just say, well, we make kids show an ID to buy alcohol. Why don't we make them show an ID to go online? But there are really, really important differences that make that comparison kind of break down. So it's a great, the spirit of the law is correct. And I think we all agree in principle that we want to do things to keep kids away from these websites. But we have to think of the digital world differently sometimes than we think of the analog world. We can't just, to use a digital phrase, we can't just copy paste from the analog world to the digital world and go, okay, well, this is going to work, And the second of all, with those analog scenarios, I mean, maybe kids are going to go get a fake ID, or maybe they're going to go meet somebody nefarious who will buy them alcohol, and that does happen. So it's not to say that the alcohol system is perfect either. There's still teen drinking and there's still a lot of bad things that go on. So it's not like those laws completely eliminate all of the negatives. But with these online laws, they might actually do more harm. We are pushing our kids to more dangerous, less known, less regulated, less trafficked websites. We're forcing them to use technologies maybe they're not familiar with. I wrote in the article, there's a GitHub tool, which is just an open source code based. There's tools there that kids are using to get around other things and age restrictions online on YouTube. Who knows what's in that code? There could be malware in there. There could be identity theft in that code. It's all open source. And so it's just, we have to think realistically about what kids are going to do. And if the law is going to do more harm than good, I think we have to consider seriously that this isn't actually helping. This is making kids more dangerous. Will a certain percentage of kids not go to those websites because of the law? Probably, but that's not the net effect of the law. And as social scientists and as good policymakers, we should be considering the net effect of the law and the net benefit, because it could harm some kids or put them in very dangerous positions. And so that's a very irresponsible thing to do.
All right. Once again, the article is called Online Safety Laws Could Backfire in Major Ways, and you can find that at rstreet.org. Spence, thanks for giving us the perspective here. People want to follow the work that you do individually. What's the way to be in touch?
Absolutely. rstreet.org is where my writing is now. My Twitter handle is Spence Chell, Kjell. So you can follow me and find all my articles there. They're also all posted by the rstreet X and Twitter handle. So, rstreet.org or Spence Chell on my X.
All right. Appreciate it, Spence. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Spence.
Thank y'all so much. See ya.
See, this is one of those tough emotional ones because I want to protect the kids.
Obviously.
And then there was a law, passed a few years ago that targeted trafficking, and we haven't stopped that problem. So to say we didn't solve the problem, therefore we shouldn't have tried. Well, no, I mean, we should try. But as Spence was saying, at this point, if we end up saying every single person now must upload a government ID and basically report your internet usage to the government or allow it to be tracked by the government, that's a bad thing too.
Yeah.
We have seen government abuse their authority to access things like banking records. You're telling me that they wouldn't abuse it to look to see what you're looking at online? And I know there are some people out there right now, I guarantee, are saying, well, if you're not looking at anything you shouldn't be looking at, you got nothing to fear. What are you worried about them seeing?
Yeah, I heard that argument when we were talking about the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
So, look, I remember being an advocate for the Patriot Act, and I remember feeling sorry for having done so. So you know what? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
All right, we're going to bring you update what's happening around the area and around the world here just ahead on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
As the Republic makes this choice.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax, no more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Who doesn't love a good gyro? Soulard Gyro is the place to go. They're family owned and operated and been operating since 2009 and growing. 4 locations in O'Fallon, Maryland Heights, Wentzville, and Soulard. And they have gyros, rice bowls, salads, and wraps, Greek fries. I didn't even know that was a thing. So stop into one of their 4 locations. And if you need something catered, they can take care of that too. Soulard Gyro, SoulardGyro.com. Make authentic gyros great again.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, just because Donald Trump wants it, and probably a majority of America wants it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. Democrats are saying, no, we want to preserve the Department of Education. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. They may actually win on this one. We'll see. Also, did high-ranking national security officials accidentally tell a magazine editor about planned military strikes by text? It looks that
Such
way.
a wild story.
And the Blues are actually still in the playoff pictures. It is 6:52. Let's dump some news on you.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
By the way, just ahead here, 7:04, we've got our friends from Project 21 going to be with us. Gabe, I'm sorry. I'm allowed to have whatever intellectual preferences I want, but you're limited.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, you're limited.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
All right.
I heard it straight from Don Lemon.
Oh,
yeah.
That guy.
So we're going to talk about that. Also, maybe around 8:20 or so, it looks like Anheuser-Busch still feeling the sting of going woke.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Is this story that I saw the headline, is this true?
This is true. It's not only true, but it also has national implications.
Wow. Okay. So they are backing out of the rainbow flag parties.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit here as well. All right. As you know, maybe one of the biggest political fights, domestically at least, is the effort to get rid of the Department of Education. President Trump instructing Education Secretary Linda McMahon to wind down the department's operation as it is dismantled. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer really, really angry about this.
Let me be very clear. If Republicans ever try to move a bill through the Senate that shuts down the Department of Education, Senate Democrats will halt it in its tracks. It will go nowhere. It will be dead on arrival.
Okay, so that means we're going to filibuster the crap out of it. Here's the thing. In the Senate, the Democrats can stop that unless the Republicans are willing to use what's the most controversial but legal and allowable tactic that nobody wants to do. So we're about to find out whether the Republicans are absolutely serious about this massive decision.
Yes, and they call it the nuclear option because it is absolutely a political weapon of mass destruction and a last resort. But the thing is, this, as much as the Democrats are willing to die on this hill, I think Republicans need to be willing to push the button.
I agree, completely agree. Looks like national security officials mistakenly texted military strike plans to a journalist, to a magazine editor. Get this.
The editor-in-chief for The Atlantic reports that he received war plans for military strikes in Yemen 2 hours before the March 15th attack. Jeffrey Goldberg was included in a group chat in a secure messaging app. The National Security Council said the text chain appears to be authentic and was looking into how a journalist's number was added to the chain in the Signal group chat. President Trump, when asked, said he was unaware of the incident. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Now, the alternative side of things could be, did they intentionally leak bogus information to try to weed out moles and leakers and those types of people? Like, what do you think the chances of that might be?
I could see that being a tactic. It looks on this one because the guy posted the screenshots, which is why you don't send these things out to people who aren't supposed to have it. They were just talking about the logistics of the strikes that were about to happen.
Oh, wow. And they were verified by what actually did happen.
Yeah, and the National Security Council spokesperson said, "Yeah, it looks like this is authentic."
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. All right. ICE carried out raids in Boston, and this is after the city's mayor Michelle Wu promised last week that she would not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. It turns out they didn't need her cooperation. Tom Homan was on Fox's The Ingram Angle, says there were a lot of arrests made.
I kept my promise, and we arrested 370 people, majority of them criminals. And as you said, murderers, child rapists, we seized guns, we drug traffickers, gun traffickers.
Yeah, so
got a lot of bad guys.
She got a lot of bad guys there. So yeah, that's something that I love, the fact that they said, "We're not going to help you," and he goes,
"Okay,
I'm going in anyway."
All right, don't need your help.
All right, a painting of Donald Trump hanging with other presidential portraits at the Colorado State Capitol is going to be taken down because Donald Trump doesn't like it. Here's the story.
House Democrats said in a statement that the oil painting would be taken down at the request of Republican leaders in the legislature. Colorado Republicans raised more than $10,000 through a GoFundMe account to commission the oil painting, which was unveiled in 2019. Republican Senate Minority Leader Paul Lundeen said that he requested for Trump's portrait to be taken down and replaced with one that depicts his contemporary likeness. The portrait was installed alongside other paintings of U.S. presidents. Before the installation, a prankster placed a picture of Russian President Vladimir Putin near the spot intended for Trump. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Okay, did you see the painting itself?
I saw the painting.
It's not good.
No, he looks a little derpy, a little chubby. It's like, look, as vain as Donald Trump is, that's not a good painting. But look, even I would look at that painting. I was like, if they did me dirty like that, I'd be like, no.
I don't think it was malicious. I just think it was a bad painting.
It just wasn't good.
Can I also say that something like this really ought to not be on the radar of the president of the United States?
It's like, what is this?
Don't worry about it. We know what you look like, Mr. President. Who cares what the painting in Colorado looks like?
It's true. But if I saw it and they did me like that, I might say something. I'm just saying.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day, something new.
No one else is really talking about this. I'm glad you're fired up about it, too.
Trump's doing the right thing.
There's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you. You're one of the sweetest guys in the world. For a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
I'm Ed Thomason. Defense Secretary Hegseth disputes a claim made by the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. Jeffrey Goldberg claims the Trump administration accidentally texted him detailed plans for the attack on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Hegseth says no way.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Right, Thank you.
Hegseth describing Goldberg as, quoting here, a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist. As for the drive to wipe out the Iran-backed rebels in Yemen, Hegseth says it's about time.
I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen.
Goldberg's allegations are raising some concerns on Capitol Hill.
GOP Congressman Mike Lawler of New York called for safeguards to be implemented to ensure the leaking of war plans doesn't happen again after a journalist was included in a Signal group chat discussing them. Lawler said Monday in a post on the social media platform X, quote, classified information should not be transmitted on unsecured channels and certainly not to those without security clearances, including reporters, period. National Security Council spokesman Brian Hughes confirmed the messages in the chat to be authentic. adding that the success of the attack upon the Houthis shows that there were no threats to U.S. troops or national security. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Trump efforts to weed out government waste, fraud, and abuse continue to face resistance in the courts. Now, a U.S. district judge is temporarily blocking DOJ from accessing private data at the Education Department, Treasury, and the Office of Personnel Management. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are up 49 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Important Medicare news. Doge chief Elon Musk says all government spending is up for review, and the House plans to cut $800 million in healthcare costs. These cuts could hit Medicare and Medicaid. Now, Rob Finnerty is on Newsmax tonight, revealing the real Medicare crisis. Over 65 million people depend on Medicare. Rob Finnerty says hardworking Americans that paid for it should get their full Medicare coverage. This week in his series Medicare in Crisis, Rob Finnerty looks at Medicare and why it faces bankruptcy. Big changes are ahead for Medicare. You need to watch Rob Finnerty tonight. Find Newsmax on all major cable systems or download the free Newsmax app on your phone now. Millions are switching to Newsmax because we're fighting for you.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Military history buffs and collectors, attention. Looking for authentic military collectibles? Look no further than Alamo Military Collectibles, your one-stop shop for genuine military artifacts. Firearms to uniforms, medals to memorabilia, pistols, rifles, bayonets, insignia, patches, helmets, field gear, and more. Both American and foreign pieces. We offer cash or consignment for your items. Alamo Military Collectibles. Visit us online at alamomilitary.com or call 314-638-6505 today.
The left, for months now,
One by one,
have been begging for a civil war.
every caller gets their say.
We got to stop and not put these officers in situations where they feel like they have to overreact.
And whether you agree
We have to assume some responsibility because I'm a black man.
or disagree,
I think you're politically wrong.
I do not need athletes to tell me.
you're invited to join the conversation.
Thank you for canceling all your games. Now I get it.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson,
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer,
I triple dog Darius!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
This is your cousin.
You know, when we talk about the ideological differences and the political differences, we're seeing a lot of protest. Many of it, the instances are becoming, violent because we disagree with one another. And there are a lot of reasons we disagree with one another. It could be because of our religion. It could be because of our background, just because we've got different views, whether it's liberal or conservative or libertarian or anything like that. But a national figure is arguing that if your skin color is one particular one, then you have no business being in arguably the most powerful political movement of the time. This is Don Lemon speaking on an interview with Bill Maher this past week. And here's what he had to say.
When I see a black MAGA person who is carrying Donald Trump's water and they know that he's lying, it is the shortest line to the front. Because if you're black and you're whatever, you're just in line with a bunch of other Democrats that are doing the same thing that you're doing. But if you become a black MAGA person, it's like, whoa, let's book this person. Let's put him on television.
So you don't
Let's
think you can
promote-
be a sincere black MAGA person?
I just said, I don't think that, I just said, I think there can be sincere Republicans.
But you can't be a sincere black Republican?
I don't think that you can be a rational MAGA, be black and be a rational MAGA person. I think you can be black and be a Republican.
I think they would find that very insulting.
Well, I mean, the truth is often insulting.
Well, that's something, isn't it? If you are black, you cannot legitimately or sincerely be part of the MAGA movement. I'm now joined by Terris Todd from our friends at Project 21, where he is the director of coalitions and outreach for Project 21, the nation's largest network of black conservatives. And Terris, appreciate you being on the program. You've heard that quote before. You've heard Don Lemon, try to very thoughtfully argue that if you are black, that you just cannot sincerely be part of the MAGA movement, although he did kindly offer room for you to be a Republican on this. But it's not so much about the Republican or the MAGA. It's him focusing, saying, if your skin color is this, then you are not legitimately that. What's your take on this?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say this is that no one, and I assure you, no one in the African-American community across this country, or should I say across the globe, looks to Don Lemon for any level of morality or rationality, and actually are seeking his input on anything. Let's keep in mind that Don Lemon, in his world, men can be women and breastfeed, and so nobody's looking to him for anything. And also in his world, men can cut off body parts and become women and actually take the space of women. And so we have to consider the source, that Don Lemon lives in a fantasy world, and to say that we have no rationality being MAGA and being black, that's absolutely crazy. Why would we not want to make America great again? We say that it was our ancestors that actually helped to build it, right? So why would we not want to make it great again or keep it great in honor of the ancestors that we know helped to build this nation into what it is today?
Yeah, and the MAGA movement, in my estimation, and you may agree or disagree on this, I see it less as a conservative movement or free market movement and more of almost a populist movement. And populist movements, by definition, often include a array of people on that. Just based on different things other than one particular, set of political or ideological principles. But Don Lemon is not the first one to say this. I mean, we've heard year after year. You can go back to Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or any of the others out there who have argued, or that famous spokesperson for black people, Joe Biden. If you don't vote for him, you ain't black. We've heard that as well. But it's a common theme that says we're going to put people in a box and we're going to box you by different things. And in this case, it's one of the latest saying we're going to box you in by skin color, and that thing. Effort just doesn't seem to go away.
Yeah, and they tend to ignore the fact that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, although he wasn't a perfect man, but he also mentioned in his speech, he said that his dream was deeply rooted in the American dream, right? So Dr. King actually recognized that the America had a dream. And so we are forever striving to be a more perfect union, right? And so where we judge by the content of one's character versus the color of their skin. So they cast all that into the trash, and it's really a disgrace, in my opinion.
We are visiting with Terris Todd, the director of coalitions and outreach for Project 21. Okay, so we know what the conflict is, Terris. We know what the problem is for a lot of us out there who look at things from this particular perspective. Let's talk about what the solutions are, starting with when you hear something like this from Don Lemon. And I know a lot of people on the left who agree with you, and they say this isn't exactly the high level intellect that we look to for leadership. He's on our side, but he's not exactly our go-to guy on this. So how do you first address that conversation? Because they're not going to hear it maybe from Don Lemon, but they're going to hear it from their local committee person. They're going to hear it from their local news reporter. They're going to hear it from their local activist, their local professor, their local high school teacher, something like that, who's going to inherit that if you're black, therefore you should be on the left and you should be opposing Donald Trump. You should be opposing the Republican Party. They're against DEI. They're against all these things. How do you engage that in a productive way? And notice I said productive and not you can be right and not productive, but how do we engage that on a person-to-person level?
Well, really engaging on a person-to-person level are the results, right? So if you're saying that you can't be this or be that because of your skin color, I guess my response would be then why did in the last election did blacks or who have the same skin color as myself vote a different way? I mean, in record numbers over the course of several years. And so I think these people are just talking heads. I think they are there to carry out a specific political agenda, and they are tone deaf to where the country really is at. And to be honest with you, a lot of people, even in the African American community, they're done. They're done with being lied to. And they said, well, what do we have to lose with trying something different? You know what I mean? And so that's exactly, I think, what's happening. And so on a more person-to-person level, I would address it from that perspective. And also the results is that the person that they voted for the first time in their life, he actually won. He took away with the victory, and now they're in office. And so, we can get down to even some of the basics and looking at some of the communities that these people are from and who's actually running those communities. But I assure you, again, that no one of my generation, I'm Gen X, and below, looks to anybody like Al Sharpton, Don Lemon, Jesse Jackson. None of them look to those folks for any kind of leadership at all. I mean, think about it. He calls himself a reverend, but you never hear anything about giving people hope. You never hear about them winning people to Christ and giving them the gospel. But it's all from a perspective of being a It's all doom and gloom and the sky is falling. And so people are sick of that. I think the younger generations have caught on to that. And they have nothing of which to tie themselves emotionally to anyway. So they're from the show me state. They said, show me better than you can tell me. And so I think that's where we are.
And so I'm hearing you say you did not check with Don Lemon to get permission to vote the way you wanted to before the election.
Absolutely not. And I'm a former Trump appointee in the first administration. So it was the greatest opportunity of a lifetime. I loved it. I was around like-minded people. We opened up in prayer, all of our meetings. I'm like, man, I'm home. So it was a blessing to me.
All right. So we've just got a minute or so left, Terris. So at this point, then, what are some of those next steps? It's one thing about just being right in a debate or an argument, but when it comes to actually undoing some of the damage that's done by these media figures and academic figures, how do we start healing that? And we can only do what we can do in our communities.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because here at Project 21, our goal and our focus has always been elevating more of the Black conservative voices to give ultimately a different perspective of how to look at what's really happening in our country and quite frankly, what's happening in the Black community. And so we have a series of resources here that talk about things, that are of interest to Black America and how it impacts Black America. And so that's what we're doing. We're seeking to elevate those voices a little bit more, because, Republicans or conservatives for many years have been known to sit back in the shadow and to be silent, but they have in this MAGA movement, if you will, they realize that they no longer have to be silent anymore, and they can come out boldly and with confidence, speak the truth to power. And so I think elevating more of those voices, like what you're doing on your show right now, having me on and others from Project 21, I think that's where we start. And then people start catching on and realize, oh man, I do have a voice in this world. So I think that's where we start, man, and people will catch on a little bit faster.
And we connect with Project 21, how?
You can go to nationalcenter.org and you can actually click on programs, and Project 21 is there. There's also a donate button for your listening audience. We also accept donations for anybody who would love to support exactly what we're doing and getting the message out and getting the resources out to communities. Matter of fact, I have some resources to send out to someone in Baltimore today. So I would greatly appreciate that.
Terris Todd from Project 21. Great chatting with you. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thanks a lot, man. God bless you. Take care.
All right. If there is something in there that Terris said that you want to argue with or disagree with or debate, call me right now, because I want to know what it is. I couldn't find anything to disagree with there. 314-912-1019. I know I'm getting Gabe's thoughts on this here in just a minute as well. But once again, Project 21, find them at nationalcenter.org, like Terris said. All right, let's talk right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Stop right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that?
Get up, get up.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Why are radical judges appointed by Obama and Biden conducting foreign policy for the United States? We'll talk to Murray Sabrin about that Tuesday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the Great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
Attention, reptile lovers. Ready to discover your next scaly friend? Welcome to the Show Me Reptile Shop, your ultimate destination for fascinating reptiles and exotic pets, with 3 convenient locations in Troy, St. Peters, and Springfield. We have an amazing selection of snakes, lizards, turtles, and more. Whether you're a seasoned herpetologist or a curious beginner, we've got the perfect pet waiting for you. Show Me Reptile Shop. Visit us in Troy, St. Peters, or Springfield, and online at showmereptileshow.com.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
Long ride on the lava rock hill until the ocean looks like a teaspoonful.
So, Gabe, what did we just learn? Did you know that your intellectual and political options are limited because of the color of your skin? Thank goodness I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, apparently I'm not allowed to be MAGA. It makes me want to go buy a MAGA hat. Actually, it really does, because I'm that kind of contrarian. It's like you tell me, it's like, all right, you think so? Huh? You think you're gonna tell me?
Yeah, yeah. According to Don Lemon and his ilk. You know, as we just talked with Terris Todd. Interesting conversation starting up on the Rumble chat box, at least on that. 7:20 right now. All right, this is going to be really fascinating. We have a few things that are kind of percolating around there. Do we have a family and a social crisis building in America? This new Wall Street Journal article is getting a lot of attention right now. It says more women are determined to stay single because guys, they say we just don't measure up to their demands, and their demands today are very different than the demands that maybe your grandmother had back in the day.
There's a lot to what's going on in the dating market right now.
Yeah. So 7:35. Let's talk about that. This is really, really fascinating. And also Anheuser-Busch. So let's talk about this about right around 8:20. I think we can get to this around 8:20. Anheuser-Busch pulling its support for pride festivals and parades everywhere.
Ooh,
I mean, like they're out.
Yeah. And they're not the only corporation doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So the media tells us that we're not actually winning this culture war, but it looks like we are.
Absolutely.
So 8:20. Let's have that conversation here. All right. Don't forget our let's see here. No, y'all get to that a little bit later. All right. So that conversation with Terris Todd, of course, I saw that clip of Don Lemon with Bill Maher, and he's just sitting there. It's so funny because, first of all, Don Lemon was let go because nobody was watching him or taking him seriously, but he's like sitting there and he's, like doing that pose like, well, we know that I'm a sage.
Oh,
It
yes,
really
yes.
matters to this conversation.
I'm glad you've come to sample my wisdom.
That's right. And part of what he said, as you heard in that clip there, was that, listen, I understand that you could be black and maybe, sincerely be a Republican, but you can't be black and be, MAGA.
Right. Yeah, that's his contention.
That's though he's drawing the line.
Yeah, so gracious of him to allow us to be Republicans. Look. Here's I think there are two things going on here. One, he is it's showing an ignorance about what it means to be MAGA, and it's also showing ignorance what it means to be black. You know what I mean? I think because he has a limited or discredited or strangely constructed version of what those two things are, he makes the category error. He says like, okay, you can't do this and be this. It's like, well, why not?
Right. Exactly. Why? Because the color of your skin.
Right. Because the color of your skin. Well, the suggestion, obviously, and this has been the suggestion of any distinction or limitation that's put on black politics, is that because this thing that I don't like is necessarily racist, is necessarily acting in contrary to the interests of black folks, then you can't be a good-natured, well thought out black person and subscribe to that. But of course, the preconceived notion that Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, anybody basically to the right of Che Guevara is obviously, the idea that they're obviously against the interests of black people is stupid. It's a false narrative.
See, and here's what was fascinating to me as I watched more of that clip with Don Lemon and Bill Maher, and I didn't watch the entire conversation, and they covered a lot of different stuff, but this is a trope that's been used for 50 years now,
easily,
and it's tired. And even many on the left are done with it. I mean, and there's no question that Democrats are losing their grip on minority votes, and that's been a trend. And so to trot that out, like, well, of course we all know this, and that was basically his take is, well, of course it is.
Yeah, it's a preconceived. It's like, of course we know MAGA is racist. That's basically what he's saying. We know MAGA is racist, and therefore, if you are a black person and you subscribe to MAGA, then obviously then you are misinformed. You're doing bad things for your community. Blah 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 blah.
Try that with any other demographic or racial group. Anyone, try it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say Democrats. They're obviously anti-Semitic. Well, actually, wait a minute.
Many of them are right now.
No, that's true. But yeah, let's say the preconceived notion is that to be Democrat is therefore that you are anti-Semitic.
Right. Which I don't believe.
Which you don't believe.
Which I don't believe.
So if you're a Jew, you can't be a Democrat.
Right.
Well, the other issue with this that we're seeing, at least for people that are closer to my age now, is because it's become such a buzzword, it's lost its effect. Back in the day when I was growing up, you really did not want to be associated with that. Now it's like
racism,
right, or anti-Semitism, anything of that nature. And now because it doesn't matter, it does not matter what you do as long as you're affiliated with the right wing, with Republicans, conservatism, whatever. Now what's happening is, well, I know I'm not racist, but if I'm going to keep being called this, let me start associating with these other people that are being called racist, and some of them actually are racist, but that makes you more susceptible to some of the ideology.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I've said this before, that the Democrat and leftist push to create these and to create this antagonism between groups is creating more racists than existed before. Because if you say there's the BIPOC world, basically is non-white world, and then there's the white world, and we don't like the people on the in the white world, then all the white people are saying, well, if you are going to become my enemy, then now I have to go to war. He's like, why would you do that? Why would you push somebody into a corner, basically forcing them to choose an ethnic side? You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
why would you do that? And that I think that seems to be what's happening. There are a lot of young people who are just now getting into politics, who just now waking up to the cultural movements that are at large. And they're seeing, if you are a straight white male, then you are the enemy. Well, okay, my only
straight
option,
white cis male.
Sorry,
Pardon?
exactly.
Okay.
That slur. So yeah, if you're a straight white cis male,
whatever cis means.
then either you're going to acquiesce to whatever the leftists are going to say, or you have to fight. Well,
Right.
you've created the situation that you say you want to avoid.
But are they wanting to create that? I mean, they thrive on conflict and division.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's necessarily an unintended consequence.
That's a good point.
Well, and that's a very good, a very interesting thought process. Is are they creating their opposition by forcing them into that to then justify? Well, we've cornered them. Now we've unified ourselves. Or I still feel that it's unintentional. I think that they are doing it because it's a punishment. It is, I want to punish you for believing differently than me, and the unintended consequence is that what they're actually doing is saying, like you said, I'm a proud sissy,
Wait a minute.
With a
CIS,
that's funny.
But if I know for a fact that these particular people hate people like me, why would I not then band together with people like me? And then that you're basically creating the boogeyman that you were fearing.
Well, and also it's also creating the opening. I mean, there are some people on the right, like influencer types on the right, who are just awful people.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, this Tate guy.
Oh, the Andrew Tate thing.
He is disgusting.
The embrace of Andrew Tate is horrible.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But how do people like that end up rising to the top of the influence chart there? Well, maybe it's because of this sort of thing. It's like, hey, if you're going to hate me anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go extreme.
I can tell you, it creates a gap. And the thing is, all it takes for somebody like Andrew Tate to become a kind of a rock star is for him to say a few good things. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I've heard him speak extemporaneously. So I find all this stuff very fascinating. Yeah. And there are some points that he's made. It was like, okay, that's a legitimate point. But of course, it's coming from this guy. And of course there are other things that he goes on to say that are just horrific. It's just like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
He's literally a trafficker.
Yeah, he's very much so. He's very much so. What do you call it? He's been proud. He's been proud, and he's stated proudly about the way that he's manipulated women into making him money
and through sex work.
Through sex work, OnlyFans and things like that.
How can don't accuse him? He's literally said it and bragged about it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of his things was he was teaching other guys how to manipulate women to get money out of them, essentially.
And he's actually, I mean,
and have multiple girlfriends. And all
that. Yeah, because if you only have a family with one woman, then you're not a conqueror. I mean, the guy's just gross.
Yeah, and there are a number of people who kind of subscribe to that thing. Yeah. I've actually seen a Christian, quote unquote, polygamist, right?
Yesterday,
did you see a story about that?
I saw that.
Yeah, it's crazy what's going on out there. But all of this is a response to a vacuum that made empty. Like the culture created a masculinity vacuum. It created a moral vacuum. So basically, all of these young men who just wanted to respond to what their DNA was telling them to do, to rise to the challenge, to find a dragon to fight, to create a family, and all the good impulses that arise out of masculinity. They had nowhere to put that in a society that said all of those things are horrible, right? So now somebody comes along and says, you know what? It's not only good, but here's how to be extra. Here's how to be alpha. Here's how to be, and it's like, in your face, and it makes you feel good. It's basically what happens when fatherless boys in the hood get recruited into a gang. It's exactly the same thing.
All right, 314-912-1019. A little different angle here. I found this article in the Wall Street Journal, and I'm starting to see coverage of the article because it's really creating a lot that says that more women in America are refusing. They're giving up on finding a husband, finding a mate.
Yep.
Because their values have changed.
It's kind of related to what we were just talking about, isn't it?
It kind of is. So I'll tell you what that article is uncovering. It's really fascinating. And ladies, men too, but ladies, I want to know what you think. Are men just not measuring up anymore? You're better off on your own? Because, I mean, he's got to respect that your career comes first. That's basically what we're hearing.
Yeah.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. You're listening to News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Isn't it amazing how many want to get into a country that is often called racist and a threat to democracy? And on the reverse side, how many who live in that same country say they hate it, but continue to reap the rewards, especially money? Of course, we're talking about the USA. So many in the world want to live here. They want to be part of America. Not just move here and remake it. They want to be truly American. Of course, from time to time, one of the celebrities make noise about how bad America is while raking in cash from Americans buying whatever they're selling. Could they get that kind of money in any other country? Not likely. Yet they see nothing wrong with complaining constantly about our country. The latest example, the lame comedian and lame talk show host, Ellen DeGeneres. She's one of the many on the left who said if Trump's elected, she would leave. Well, she's actually done it. She sold her last property in the States, now locating in England. How many will miss her? If you're making a list of those who are glad to see her go, put me at the top of that list.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now open Napoli Kirkwood.
It's almost time for baseball's return to St. Louis. Get ready to watch your Cardinals take the field at Busch Stadium. From home runs and fireworks to historic plays and rising stars, there's no better way to catch Cardinals baseball than with thousands of friends, old and new, in the Sea of Red. Grab your tickets now to join the fun in Cardinals Nation. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family's summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, do we have a social and family crisis?
Yes.
In America.
That's it. The short answer is yes, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It seems like there's a new war between the sexes. And when I say between the sexes, I mean the two.
The actual.
The only two sexes.
The only two sexes.
But that's a whole separate thing.
Mhm.
Don't forget our Torch the Tax event coming up April 16th. We announced this yesterday. This is going to be so much fun. Go to newstalkstl.com to get your free tickets, but you've got to be on the list. You've got to have a ticket to get in. We're going to be at the Funny Bone. Doors are, I think they're going to open at 6. The event starts at 6:30 or something like that. But all the details are at newstalkstl.com with Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Knoxville. But you would know him as Kane, the former world heavyweight wrestling champion, but he's now a leader, truly one of the leading voices in the freedom movement itself. Very free market. And of course, he has challenged Tim Walz to say, get in the ring with me. You think you can kick Donald Trump supporters' butts? Hey, I'll get in the ring with you.
He did say
that he could do that. So,
well, and that's the crazy thing is he's actually gone so far. He's got sponsors. He's putting up his own money. It's a charity thing. So at this point, if you're not willing to take a butt kicking to help charity, then there's something wrong with you, Walls.
There's a lot of things wrong
there are a
with
lot of things
Walz.
wrong
Yeah,
with
precisely.
Walz. That's true.
All right, it is 7:38 right now. So I found this article at the Wall Street Journal. Basically, more and more American women say, you know what? I'm just going to be single. I can't find the man that I want because my demands are X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. And so here's a quote from that article, or at least the promotion of it. It says, American women have never been this resigned to staying single. The challenges of finding a romantic partner have been made more complicated by a growing divide in education and career prospects between men and women. And that career thing is actually huge. There's one of the women who's quoted in this. Her name is Katie Kirsch, 30 years old, lives in New York City. She says that she ramped down her search for a husband after many of the men she dated either seemed turned off by her ambition or were not career oriented enough for her. And that's kind of the theme that you're seeing in this article at the Wall Street Journal out there. And what's interesting, let me address the education part first, and then we get into this other stuff because I'm curious what you think, Gabe. The Institute for Family Studies has looked at the data for the last couple of years, and what they're finding is not even just in the U.S., but in other countries, Western countries as well, but particularly in the U.S., that out of K through 12 education, before you even get to the left-wing indoctrination of the campuses, that young men, so 17, 18, 19 years old, they generally are coming out of K through 12 schools culturally far more conservative than the women. The young women are coming out of these schools fired up and feminist.
Yeah.
They're coming out very farther to the left than previous generations. And the Institute for Family Studies maintains, they're saying this right now does not bode well for future generations, for our fertility rate, for our family structure, for that foundation of society and community, because you've got such a massive disparate difference, almost a chasm between the way that many young men and many young women, and they're like, I'm not going to partner up with you. I'm not doing this. And what we're seeing now with women is my career comes first. I need a man who respects that.
Yeah. And ultimately I blame feminism. It's kind of flippant to say so, but I think I'll also add this. I think birth control kind of screwed up.
Interesting. Really?
It screwed up sexual relations in the male female dynamic.
Okay, now the young guy here, you're nodding on this. Tell me what you mean by that, guys.
Yeah, so I think what birth control did was it separated familial responsibility from the sexual act. So the idea before was, hey, if you engage in this, there could be a baby, and then that's a shotgun wedding. So women were more careful about who they allowed themselves to be with, right? Because the risks were very, very high. What birth control did was it said, nah, the risks are minimal. Don't worry about it. So now all of a sudden there's an increased incentive to have more risky sexual behaviors by women. So they were vetting the men that they would take with them to bed a lot less than they used to be.
No, let's not let guys off the hook.
Well, here's the thing. Moral guys are going to behave in a certain way, but the male brain is just wired to, hey, if you're throwing it at me, I'm going to catch it. And I think, honestly, and that's kind of what's happened. If you've been on a college campus lately, some of these girls are throwing it. Now, of course, they throw it to a very limited number of people. There's because of the way the sexual marketplace works. The top tier guys can bed basically the entire campus. The basketball team and football team will be okay. But the guys in the chess club, not so much.
The Gabe Pfeiffers,
the Gabe Pfeiffers of the world. Now, to be fair, I wasn't in that scene.
See,
but yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of it more from the stance of when it comes to birth control, we know that it has a hormonal impact.
Oh,
right?
that's true too.
So, and I'm not saying that it makes anybody crazy by necessity, but in the sense of how many times have you been around somebody that can tolerate being around you, but they don't let you know that they have issues with you, that they don't like you, right? If you're on something that's changing your hormones, it's changing the way that you think, you feel, you respond to things, and then you are not updating your own introspective journey of like, how am I presenting myself to the world? It's not me that's the issue now. It's everybody not accepting me and tolerating me. And I think that also plays a factor into it because, again, the whole feminist idea is be a girl boss, be empowered. You don't need any of the responsibility that men have. You don't have to deal with anything of incorporating other people's needs into your life, but go out there and be a Joan of Arc type character. And I love Joan of Arc, but when you add birth control to that, now you're adding this whole extra layer that's messing with the psychology. So it may not be that they can't meet your demands. It may be that you have unrealistic expectations of others.
There's actually a chemical component to that whole thing too. Like basically, the chemical response women have to men who they are compatible with changes when you're on birth control.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, so that's a whole other story. But to there's more of a sociological thing,
right?
When we get to the girl boss thing, right? That you mentioned.
I think that's the focus of the Wall Street Journal.
That's the focus of the article there, and I think there are two things that happen. Like one, there are a lot of men who kind of started to take themselves out of the sexual marketplace because they figured out that they couldn't compete. Because women, the modern woman,
he's got to be 6 feet tall, make six figures, got to have a six pack.
Exactly, and a couple other sixes that you can include in there too. So yeah, the criteria that that was placed on other on men by the women who were coming out of these feminist schools under the influence of birth control in a completely free sexual marketplace means that a whole large segment of men, like 70% of men, basically are getting shift out of the sexual marketplace. So they checked out. So now the women are realizing there's nobody to marry.
So they're checking out.
So they're checking
and there's an entire industry of American men going to other countries that are more culturally conservative, looking for wives in other areas.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of women resent that. Let me give you an example. After I had a baseball practice, a scrimmage this past weekend, and we just went to the Cybergs over on Gravois after that, and we were just chatting about different guys on the team and the season. And one of the guys on the team, unfortunately, got divorced about a year and a half ago, something like that. But he's out dating. He's in the dating scene. He's in his 40s, but he's out there dating. Apparently, he's
living his best life.
He's living his best life, as they're saying. You know what? He's a fit, 40-something guy, and successful in what he does, and he's out there having a good time. And it was funny. Every other guy at the table, we're all like, glad it's not me. I mean, this guy's out there living his best life too, in the eyes of a lot of people, just dating and having fun. And the rest of us are like, no, thank you.
Nope.
I mean, I've mentioned it. You know what? Whatever. Rachel is my last wife.
Right.
This is it. I had one marriage that did not work out. I'm married to Rachel. one way or the other, this is it. We live happily ever after, or I stay single for the next 25 years or whatever I've got left.
Oh yeah.
Period. That's the and one of my other friends who's married, Matt, he just said, I am so glad that I do not have to deal with the dating scene.
Oh,
at this point. I am so happy to be married. And he and Tammy are great. But that was the general thinking is, if I had to do it today, I wouldn't.
Absolutely. I've said before too, if something were to happen to Janet, I'm that's it.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like I'm not even looking at these ladies.
Yeah.
It's crazy out there, guys. I've been watching this kind of like Steve Irwin, making a trek through some uncharted wilderness in Australia, and I am fascinated by the craziness that I see. It's pretty much as bad as you would expect in the wilderness out there.
Yeah.
Kathleen was saying that it's not that hard if to meet her criteria. The first standard she has is don't be gay.
Yeah.
Second one, be a gentleman, and third one, be masculine. And I don't think that should be too difficult for most men to achieve. So maybe there's hope for us out there.
Well, here's the thing though. The ladies who's I think most women want a masculine man. I mean, we're kind of built so that the masculine wants the feminine wants the masculine. But feminism has changed the mentality to go against the natural inclinations that women have. So they're like, well, no, I want a man who can get on my page and get on my, and it creates this juxtaposition with what they actually want. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's going to be an inclination of women to want to somebody who's a more successful than and things like that.
Right.
So,
and a big focus is a lot of the women in this article. They're saying basically, men just can't handle my success.
Yeah. Well, is that it? Or they just can't handle what you've had to become in order to become successful?
We can handle your success. It's when that makes you a second or third tier priority.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
It's not.
Yeah. All right. What do you think? 314-912-1019. Man, we got a lot of comments coming in on Rumble, at least. Dude, I don't know what's coming on Facebook, but it's happening out there. Interesting stuff here. 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the Sabos radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio 3 times every week yet on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure Full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We got a great, as expected, great response to Jamie Allman now being back in the daytime, noon to 2 o'clock, Monday through Friday, right here. Jamie's back, man.
People are liking it.
Yeah, perfect time slot too.
And we've unleashed, what have we done?
What have we done?
What have we done? People are like, hey, is Jerome single? I've got a daughter. Yeah, well,
he is.
That's what's going on right now.
Yeah, so the app has launched. Apparently, I think by the time you're done with our radio show, Jerome, you're going to be married.
Yes, somebody's going to ask you like, "How's the job at the radio station?" It's great. Any fringe benefits? Well, the audience is looking for dates for me.
I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
7:52 right now. Okay, so if you're just joining us, the Wall Street Journal published this article late last night or early today, and it's basically about how more American women are checking out of looking for a husband.
Right.
Men aren't, because the women, generally speaking, a lot of the issues that were cited were, you know what, men, my career comes first. I need a man who respects that, who, is ambitious,
ambitious as me or more.
Right.
Actually, it's really,
or just will stay out of the way of my ambition.
Yeah.
And then why can't I have the family home that I want? Well, because that's not your priority.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's your priority.
Yeah.
And when that becomes your priority, that's what you get.
There's a cost benefit to these things.
Yeah.
There's limited resources. There's limited you. Like, so how much are you going to devote to your career? How much you're going to devote to building a family?
Yeah.
And I think, guys have this dilemma also, but it comes in a different way. Look, men and women are different.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's interesting that a lot of the women who've basically been raised in these feminist K-12 schools, frankly, as well as the feminist colleges, now come out and realize that the world doesn't operate on feminist principles.
Right. Yeah. Vicky has an interesting point. She goes, "It's sad they don't realize they will grow old by themselves."
Yes. And there is a growing number of older women. Some of them who are agree. I'll say they're being brave and coming out on social media and saying, "Don't do this."
Yeah.
They're saying, "I'm 60 something and I bought into the feminist lie. I have no one. I'm alone. I have plenty of money, but I've got no one." Yeah. And I have nothing. And they feel very empty. And we see that in the statistics about happiness. Who are the most happy women in America? There's the married religious women with children.
Yeah.
Right.
And conservative.
That's
not now. You can be on the left and be happy.
Obviously.
Just many people choose not to be for whatever reason.
Right.
But it's funny because I'll see those reels and the videos, and so many of them, they just walk up to women and what are your standards?
Oh, the criteria.
It is so, because one, these women are being completely honest, but they're delusional.
It's delusional. And they're so delusional. Somebody came up with a calculator to determine how delusional they are, because some autistic individual, kind of like me, decided it's femaledelusioncalculator.com is a place where basically you enter the criteria, and we've seen this if you've watched any of these short videos of the man on the street or the woman on the street interviews, where they'll ask some 20-something who's out looking for a partner. It's like, okay, well, what are the criteria for you? What are you looking for out here in the dating scene? And it's like, okay, well, maximum age. Like, well, I'm in my 20s, so I couldn't really date somebody over 30. All right, so 30 is maximum age.
Which, by the way, that's reasonable.
That's fine.
I'm
that's
okay
reasonable.
with that. That's reasonable.
But then they say stuff like, but the minimum income is like $200,000 a year.
Yes.
It's like, well, the thing is, most 30-year-olds can't make more. And then of course the minimum height is 6 feet.
Right.
Has to be over 6 feet.
Right.
It's like, do you want
which would eliminate both you and me?
Exactly.
Jerome, you're what? How at 6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah, I'm 6'4.5".
See,
you're 6'4".
You're in those
Man,
top
you're like
percentage.
as tall as Stella.
Seriously, yeah. So we only have tall people
There
over
you
here.
go, yeah.
But hey, you want to not share him, so he has to be not married? Oh, okay, yeah, you hit that one. You prefer him not to be obese, right? It's like, of course, he has to have that six pack. Yeah. So okay, let's find out the score. Now, this is all based on the statistics of males in America, essentially. So the probability of finding a 30-year-old who makes over $200,000, who's over at least 6 feet tall, not married, not obese, is 0.129%.
Not 1.9%.
0.1.
So 1/10 of 1%.
Yes.
But the every woman says, well, I'm a 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
And therefore I am. And that's the thing. It's like, well, you generally want the concept is you should kind of match your level, right? So
yeah, 2s get with 2, 5s get with 5s, 8s get with 8s.
So then the follow-up question to this is, well, are you a 0.129% woman? and of course the the obese feminist with a gender studies degree and the blue hair says, of course I am. I'm a 10.
Right. Are you man enough to accept that?
Are you man enough to accept me?
Yeah,
So that's kind of where we've gotten to the point where the aging feminists are starting to realize that they've been lied to. Yeah. And it's sad. Ultimately it's sad.
Righty Wright says, I have a son that has pretty much given up on finding a nice lady.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I would again, I'll just say it. I would hate to have to be in the dating market today.
Yeah.
I mean, I would absolutely. I mean,
it'd be horrible.
I wouldn't even want to do it. I feel bad for you, Jerome. Except we got a lot of people got your back, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ready Right says, time for the Mike Ferguson Show Me Your Single Kids meetup party. So maybe there's hope for me after all.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountry.store.com.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention Newstalk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family on specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention Newstalk STL for 10% off.
Hello, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, your diamonds are so fantastic at Newsteaders. You named the website after them, wowdiamonds.com. Tell us about Wow Diamonds.
Well, we picked that name because when people look at the diamonds, they all exclaim the same thing. Everybody says, wow, and nobody can spell Newsteaders, so we figured Wow Diamonds would definitely be a good tagline, and it's very accurate. We actually introduced the lab-grown diamond to our St. Louis family, and we're the exclusive home of the trademarked Wow Diamond. It's the most perfectly cut and polished diamond you'll ever experience, and we can fit one into anyone's budget. The thing that's nice about them is they're significantly less expensive than a mined diamond, and of course the artwork is in the cutting and polishing. That's where you get the beauty in the diamond, and that's what we excel at.
Newsteaders, a St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. Stop by and find out why. 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, or on the internet, wowdiamonds.com for Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. It's a brand new year. Tim Jones to tell you about the brand new things happening at The Hideout, famous for the Sunset Patio, 50 big screen TVs, live music and events, a fantastic game room, and of course, the food. The Hideout has a brand new menu featuring their world famous wings, the best handcrafted burgers, new items like the signature Sunset Dip and Dave's Chili, and a second location at Sugar Creek Golf Course in beautiful High Ridge. Experience The Hideout while enjoying a round of golf. Come in for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout.
HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.
Attack rebels in Yemen. The claim is raising alarm in Congress. Lawmakers expected to grill Trump administration officials at a hearing today. As Ukraine ceasefire talks continue in Saudi Arabia, more Russian attack on Ukraine overnight.
Ukraine's state emergency service says the Kyiv region was targeted by Russian shells in the early hours of the day, with firefighters battling to put out fires at a warehouse and elsewhere, while in the eastern Kharkiv and Sumy regions, strikes destroyed several buildings and vehicles, according to the service. Ukraine's general staff reports that Moscow carried out 76 aviation strikes and used nearly 800 drones against Ukrainian positions and settlements after holding separate talks with a team from Kyiv. I'm Charles Philates.
A new treatment for Parkinson's disease patients offering hope for millions.
Researchers at Stanford University say it's a breakthrough neurological device that offers deep brain stimulation. They say it's not a cure. The scientists say the BrainSense adaptive device offers a better quality of life for patients, including controlling tremors. The FDA has approved the device, and now it's available for purchase.
And that's correspondent Tasha Stevens. Luigi Mangione, charged and jailed in connection with the fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is asking for a laptop to help with his defense. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures in positive territory ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street. The Dow futures are up 89 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Face it, the world is uncertain these days, but there's something reassuring about holding on to what lasts. 2025-ounce gold eagle from the U.S. Mint, a symbol of American strength and an asset that stands the test of time. You can trust gold, and you can trust Global Coin. Call 833-SPOT-GOLD to secure this magnificent coin graded in pristine MS-70 condition for the dealer cost of $30.99. Free shipping, no sales tax. This is your chance to own a piece of history while building a foundation of enduring value. It gets even better. Global Coin is giving the first 100 callers a free MS-70 2025 Silver Eagle to complement your 1-ounce gold eagle. Two iconic coins, a symbol of prosperity and a testament to the enduring value of gold and silver. Global Coin backs every purchase with a 30-day return policy, ensuring your peace of mind. Visit globalcoindeal.com or call 833-SPOT-GOLD. No gimmicks, incredible coins at incredible prices. Again, that's 833-SPOT-GOLD.
The new premier of Australia's Queensland state announcing a new stadium will be built for the 2032 Summer Olympics, 4 years after Olympic organizers selected the venue.
The stadium will host the opening and closing ceremonies and the athletics. Will also be
from the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tim Jones here for the Better Business Bureau, created by business owners who believe in the power of free enterprise and self-regulation. With BBB accreditation, you gain access to resources that help your business grow and thrive, like networking opportunities and dispute resolution services. Stand out among your competition. Show customers your business values trust and ethics. Remember, BBB accreditation, a promise to your customers you do business the right way. Visit bbb.org, 314-645-3300. BBB, the sign of a better business.
Are uneven concrete surfaces causing you headaches? Polytime Concrete Leveling and Restoration has the solution. We're a veteran and family-owned business offering long-lasting solutions for all your concrete problems. From precision concrete leveling to our superior restoration services, our precision polyjacking outperforms traditional mudjacking any day. Call Polytime at 636-487-3282 for a free estimate or visit itspolytime.com. Mention Newstalk STL and get $125 off any job of $600 or more, or 10% off your service.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
We've sort of unleashed a can of worms here.
Oh, gosh,
with this
yeah.
relationship talk right here.
Yeah.
All right, 314-912-1010. I do want to get you updated
Let
on
it
some of the
continue.
news that's happening, but guess people have some thoughts. Let's see here. My screen went to sleep here. Okay, so is Mike still here on the line? He is here. All right, hey Mike, you're on News Talk STL. What do you think?
Hello again.
Hey there.
All of this talk about people's disgruntlements with each other reminded me of the dynamic back in engineering school, where about halfway through their first semester, all the girls realized they could get away with murder, and so they end up being jerks. And then, so by the end of the freshman year, beginning of the sophomore year, all the young men hate all the young women, and so therefore, by the end of their sophomore year, all the women also hate all the young men, and by their junior years, they all hate each other, and then by their senior years, they finally start to chill out, but by then they graduate.
Right, and then you got to figure out how to do business with each other in the real world.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's such an interesting dynamic, and to some degree it's because of hyper individualism, which, you know, hey, I've got a little bit of that in me and myself, but at the same time, it is saying I'm going to go to that point, to the level of not wanting to have what traditionally has been a foundation of our communities and of our society, which are strong families, because we've got both men and women, and let's not let men off the hook here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That say, I would rather have this for myself because that's what I'm told is a success. I'm told that the having a happy family at home is not a success, and that's such BS, and we're paying the price for it. Yep. Hey, Mike, appreciate you being on the program.
Thank you
so
sir.
much. Yeah. You know, sometimes they're just things more valuable than a big bank account.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
but we kind of like talked a lot about, you know, the thing in the Wall Street Journal that's highlighting, of course, they're almost like basically saying, you know, women just can't find men who can measure up to them anymore.
Right.
But the reality is that women have changed overall.
What they're measuring.
what they're measuring and what their demands are. And listen, you know, I'm not saying that I you know, want the, you know, Middle Ages surf, you know, women on.
Oh no.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you know, societies do change and adapt and all these sorts of things. I'm not saying that. But you know, a lot of cases, what's happened is we've changed our priorities. And let's also, again, not let the men off the hook. We talked a lot about the women because that's what the article was focused on, was women who have given up on relationships and marriage. But men are generally doing the same thing, and they're reacting to the women who are saying, none of you measure up anymore because you have to, you know, you have to buy into my career first and be my partner in this instead of in life.
Right. And I mean, and you know, there are a lot of demoralized men out there too. You know, now that's, some of them have been demoralized by, you know, their schools because of the you know, the way the teachers are. We talk about public schools and academia a lot, and they've been demoralized by culture. But some are just they've decided that they just want the easy route. They want to live in their parents' basement. They want to play video games all day. And
you remember the bro culture moment?
Yeah, the bro culture moments. It's like if you can get girls, you just want to run through as many as you can. And not care about anything. So there's some blame certainly on the men's side to not step up and do their due diligence
right.
as well.
And there are, you know, the reality is that men who also do career first. Well, okay, but if that's your value, then you're not going to make the connection just the same way that if women make that above all else at the expense of family, at the expense of a life partner. You know, are you looking for a business partner to marry, or are you looking for an actual life partner?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
314-912-1019. Boy, we do have a lot of news that's going on here, but I want to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, we got another caller.
But just a couple of things that are happening real quick while we take in some of this. The Democrats, I'm just quick bullet point headlines here. The Democrats in the U.S. Senate saying they're going to block the dismantling of the Department of Education.
Of course, that's the hill they want to die on.
Yep.
The unions are going to make sure they do.
Right. Unless the Republicans are willing to go to the extreme measure of what's called calling the previous question on a filibuster, the Democrats will be able to stop this, but the Republicans have the votes to go through that. So that is something that can do. We're about to find out how much of a backbone Republicans have on this. Let's see here. What else? The ICE. makes raids and arrests hundreds of illegal aliens in the city of Boston after the mayor said, I won't be a part of you doing this here. And they went in and did it anyway.
Yep.
Donald Trump, we talked about this painting yesterday.
The painting.
When you were up in the Colorado state capitol. There was a painting of the president. They have all the presidents up there.
Yeah, they're all
and it
lined
turns out that Republicans actually raised the money, like GoFundMe style, to pay for and commission this artwork.
Right.
And it's not a good. It's not malicious.
It's not a good depiction.
It's just not a very good painting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, they got the bottom tier guy on the website where you hire painters. It's like you probably could have sprung for a better painter.
Yeah, you could have done that. But I will say that so somebody showed this to the president, and he made a comment like, "I want this thing taken out." Okay, Mr. President, you got bigger things to worry about. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of pictures out there. Nobody really cares.
I will contend that if it was me, I'm vain enough that I would have said something. I was like, I don't like that.
Am I the only one that actually does not think it looks that bad? I mean, it's not great. But it's not, I don't think it's like newsworthy.
No,
like that picture of Jesus that they tried to like touch up and it came out looking all messed up.
Oh gosh,
yeah, it's not like it looks like that. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, it's that's what's funny to me is I had it in the news dump because it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is the president of the United States, who is staring down Iran trying to export terrorism? We've got Russia and Ukraine. We got
Chinese spies.
Yeah, we've got China being frisky. We've got Pakistan and the Pakistan and India.
Yep, going at it.
So I mean, don't worry about the painting.
There are other things.
It's not a good painting, but it's really not something you should be spending energy on. It wasn't malicious. They didn't purposely distort you. It's just somebody who's not that good of a painter.
Right. That's all. It's fine. It's fine.
Other things happening here. The Cardinals, they had their annual sort of trek back up to Busch Stadium, and they stopped in Memphis, played the minor league Redbirds. The good news is they beat them. The bad news, it was only 3-2. Cardinals had a 3-run home run by Nolan Arenado. Up next is opening day against the Twins. That is at Busch Stadium on Thursday afternoon. All the festivities are going to be happening with opening day. And the Cardinals do opening day better than I think everybody else. But I don't know if that stadium is going to be sold out. I think there's going to be empty seats.
I think there are going to be a lot of empty seats. And I think it's specifically a message to the management of the team.
Oh, I agree. Completely agree. Other cities, and I've said it before, and I apologize for regurgitating it here. But in other cities, if it looks like your team's not going to have a good year, people just, I'm going to go watch something else. It's a fair weather fan. That's not St. Louis.
No, that's not what's happening.
This is the
here.
fan base knowing exactly what's happening and sending a message to the front office. That I think is what's going on. Also, okay, three interesting things about the Blues tonight. First of all, another home game. That's point number one. The Canadiens are in town for this one. That is a 7:00 game. Point two that's really interesting is that the Blues are in the wild card race still. There's only 10 games left in the season, and they are in the position to get to the playoffs, which, we thought, if they're a 500 team and maybe we're talking wild card at the end of the season, that's a good season.
Right.
Because the Blues were very upfront on what they were doing with the season. And it really kind of looks like they've delivered, but the Blues, as of right now, are in this wild card race. And then tonight's game is on broadcast television. It's on over-the-air television. If you've got your antenna, rerun your scan, because I don't know how long it's been, but if it's been more than a year or so, you may not have channel 32, which just went on the air a year or two ago. So it's called Matrix, but that's going to be where the Blues are on tonight, is on channel 32.
What is on air television? Is that like Netflix and YouTube? Is that
See, literally they had to run a segment of a guy showing people how to hook up the cable wire to the back of their television.
That's what's funny is because when I went and put my set up my TV, you can go anywhere and get a $15 or $20 or $30 digital antenna.
Yeah.
And you just plug it in, and it's funny.
You can hang it up in your house.
Right.
Somewhere.
Because at one point we thought, broadcasting is on the way out, and we've got more television and radio stations now I think we probably had in a very long time. And you can watch that on over the air. I wish we would have more pro sports over the air. I miss those days.
Mm-hmm.
Remember KPLR, man, the Cardinals were on KPLR, every night back in the day, channel 11. It was that was the kind of the tradition. You wanted to watch the watch the games, watch Jack Clark, watch Daryl Porter, watch Joaquin Andahar, watch all the, that was when you watched it on there. So tonight, the Blues on Channel 32 over the air, pregame at 6:30, puck drop at 7. Good for them for putting it on there.
Absolutely.
All right. Anheuser-Busch, they are seeing the writing on the wall on another part of these cultural wars. And if you think that you're speaking up for what's right, let me tell you something, it's making a difference. And big news out of Anheuser-Busch, national news about them pulling out of the Pride festivities and parades. We'll give you the details and talk about that right around 8:20.
Gabe Pfeiffer, Mike Ferguson. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm.
Have you been injured in an accident? You need a personal injury law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, we've been fighting and winning for St. Louis. $5 billion in negotiated settlements? We've got it. $300 million in verdicts? Done. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row. Onder wins all the time. Car accident, trucking accident, workplace injury. No matter the case, let Onder win for you. When the stakes are high, we're the team you can trust. Wondering what your case is worth? Call now for a free consultation. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win. Dial 314 or 618-9-million. That's 9, then all zeros. Or visit onderwins.com today. Onder Law. Winning is what we do.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Springtime often means storms. Don't let a fallen tree ruin your day. Call Hanson's Tree. Look them up at hansonstree.com. Hanson's, your expert insured tree care specialist in the St. Louis region and well beyond. In addition to taking care of all the messes, they can take care of beautiful things as well. Organic mulch, tree trimming, grinding, and land clearing, green waste recycling. Let the expert arborist at Hanson's take care of all the tree care for your home or business. 24/7 at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Hi, this is Susie Moore. Check out my show, Redstate Radio, Sunday afternoon at 4, right here on News Talk STL. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Wait, what is this? Mike and Gabe's morning cooking show and relationship advice? What in the world?
So one of the streamers was mentioning, it said that apparently the two topics that gets the crowd riled up are relationships and when you guys talk about food. And so I figured, why don't we just combine those? We'll do a morning cooking and relationship.
By the way, happy National Pancake, or no, waffle day, National Waffle Day, because totally different than pancakes.
Hey, they are.
They're better.
Hey, look, I'm good with waffles, or good with pancakes, but waffles hold more syrup.
That's true.
That is a scientific truth.
That's true.
And that's an engineer. He knows the science of food now too.
Okay, is this weird? And then I actually have an actual important thing to talk about.
Then we have news to talk about. Yeah.
If I go like to Chris's or to Uncle Bill's or Waffle or wherever, if I get a pancake, is it weird that I'll like take my knife and like cut little like
You score it.
Yeah, I'll score it just so that the syrup can seep in there a little bit more.
No, you crack the code.
Yeah, okay.
That's what that means.
That's what I will do.
Yeah,
But
see,
waffles.
I tend to pour the syrup on after I actually cut all of my pieces of pancake. Like I do multiple cuts till
you dice them.
I have segments. It's perfectly round and I have sixes. It was one of my little autistic things that I do, and then I pour the syrup on it because it absorbs in all the
I
cuts.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
best waffles around. You're gonna find them where?
Ooh, best waffles. I don't know. I couldn't tell you any of the lovely kind of mom and pop shops that I've got to, but some of them are really good.
I'm gonna say Original Pancake House.
Ooh,
Yeah,
OG.
yeah,
All right,
that's where I'm gonna say.
there you go. Hey, chat, get in on that. Yeah,
There you go.
where's your favorite waffle?
Okay, so let me go back to with the culture war stuff.
Yes,
and it's interesting because this radio station's about coming up on 4 years old.
Mhm.
And when we first went on the air, you remember how much there was sort of a feeling of dread amongst us conservatives.
Oh, we as far as anybody could tell, we were losing. We had lost. We had lost the culture war.
Just we were going to live in a world where you're not allowed to say that men and women are different, and that every school was going to have some dude in a dress grooming your children, and the government wasn't going to let you. And we really thought that's the direction everything was going, because up to that point, the right, and I don't mean just the political right, I mean traditional cultural conservatives who vote whatever way, had really thought that we were overwhelmed by news media, by entertainment media, by academia, by the K through 12, by social media. And then something happened.
There was a huge shift.
There were multiple things. One was this Dylan Mulvaney nonsense, which turned out, the reaction to that was oversized.
Yes. For what it was.
Right. And it means that it struck a nerve.
It was the last straw.
Right. And then you had, I think it was Chris Rufo who got a hold of the Walt Disney creative meeting.
Yes.
Where they were saying, yes, we're using our product to change the minds and indoctrinate young people, not so secret agenda. And then you had multiple cases of just social media and school districts where teachers are going on social media saying, damn right that I'm running the pride flag and my kids are pledging allegiance to this and the flag, and and
the porn books in the libraries,
books in the schools. And so there was not even so much of a shift in how people think. I'm sure there are some people who said, all right, that's not what I signed up for, I'm done. But there were a lot of people who said, I'm done being silent.
Yes.
And then when I say that the reaction to the Dylan Mulvaney thing was oversized, I'm not saying it's wrong. It was right, but it was this touched a nerve along with everything else. Because what you have is one mentally ill man. And then he did that stupid, because we played the audio.
Oh, the little quote unquote commercial,
right,
little spot on his social media page
about his face being on this beer can. And then we followed up with the marketing person who said, well, yeah, we've got to use the product to, basically
push the agenda.
It's our job to change people's minds, because, Bud Light drinkers have been too fratty. Yeah. And bro. And so massive reaction to that, because that touched a nerve. Dylan Mulvaney isn't that important.
No.
He's just a weirdo out there.
Right.
But that's what touched her. And now with targeting children and you can go right on down the line, the cultural momentum has completely shifted to the point where even Gavin Newsom is trying to back down.
Yeah, I saw that. That's wild.
Right. And so he knows he has to do that if he wants any chance of winning in purple states. And so now we get the news that Anheuser-Busch, which has been one of the biggest sponsors of pride parades and pride festivals all over the country, they've now said, we're done.
After more than 30 years of sponsoring the Pride Fest, in at least the one here in St. Louis, Anheuser-Busch has declined to sponsor this year's one for the LGBTQIA plus festival. And that's probably why. I believe Pride St. Louis is the charitable organization that kind of runs this. They do all the fundraising.
Right.
They are short $150,000.
Yeah, which they'll make up really.
Somebody's going to make there's somebody with deep pockets in there who's going to do that. But That's the thing. They've lost that AB sponsorship, and particularly it's a big deal in St. Louis because it's right around the corner. It's kind of the hometown thing. But this sort of thing extends to other Pride Fests. The San Francisco Pride director Susan Ford feels saddened about the loss of up to $300,000 in corporate sponsorships that include Comcast, Anheuser-Busch, and some company called Diageo or something like that. I don't know who they are, but they've all backed away. They've all backed away from participating.
Well, see, here's the thing: is that 30 years ago, that was a risk for Anheuser-Busch and these companies, especially in the Midwest, to put their money down and put their logo on something like a festival. And then it became, nobody cares. I mean, 20 years ago, were we going out to actively boycott somebody who sponsored a pride parade? Most people were not. You roll your eyes at it. You didn't want to participate in it if that's what you believe, but it didn't really warrant a much, other than the religious right moms and all the, but they were mad about everything. They were mad about cop shows they were mad about everything. And now at this point though, they're realizing it's just not worth it because it's not a market. It's now you're taking sides in a cultural war.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I don't think Anheuser-Busch was, donating money to a festival or a parade. They were thinking, okay, that cost $100,000, but we're probably going to sell $125,000 worth of beer and merchandise.
As an investment.
It's just a business deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they got into the diversity of the DEI and they included the LGBT stuff in it. And they're like, okay, this is part of our corporate mission. And now the market has changed. I don't know how many minds have changed. Again, some have, but overall we spoke up and made it clear where the market stands. And so now it's not worth it for them to be on the wrong side of a cultural war. And again, going back to citing the Dave Chappelle, imagery of the L, the G, the B, the T, and the card riding together.
Those T's, man.
It was the T's that
y'all messing it up.
That messed it up for everybody else because they decided to, force that on people. And people said, we didn't know where the line was, but you found it.
Yeah. We found the line. It was like we were just searching around in the dark. It's like the LGB thing is like, I don't know. It feels a little weird, but I guess do what you want.
You do you.
The T's come along and they start saying, yes, gender is a social construct and you'll call me ma'am. And everybody's like, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute. This doesn't feel right.
And then we find out, like, for instance, in St. Louis, that there's a children's hospital that is actively grooming children to mutilate themselves, and laws are passed and, all this sorts of stuff. So what's happened here is that when we spoke up, and we spoke up in the right way.
Yes.
We spoke up very boldly. We spoke up unapologetically. We stopped accepting the left's terminology. We stopped saying things like, well, that's a trans woman who beat Riley Gaines in the swimming match. No, it's a dude.
Yep.
It's a dude who did it. We stopped accepting their terminology, and we've rendered it essentially meaningless to the point where we have forced the rest of society to accept, okay, what we're really arguing about is reality.
Right.
I was watching one of those TV news reports in the in these because I was pointing to Gabe. I'm like, look at that. And it was the story about Anheuser-Busch pulling out of the St. Louis Pride Parade. Well, one of the B-roll cuts they went to is like some just freaky looking dude.
Yeah.
With, makeup.
Clown makeup, basically.
Clown makeup.
Just full face.
And I'm like, that's why.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why.
That and the chaps wearing guys and the people with selling the sex toys over there. And the kids selling certainly badly shaped candy to children. And it's like all of that stuff. So it's like we can't do this anymore.
So LGBT community, when you want to cry discrimination and hatred and all that, look at your own behavior.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm pretty libertarian. You grown-ups live however you want, and I'll defend your right to do it. You guys cross the line culturally and in a lot of other areas. You're paying the price for it now. And I don't apologize for that.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why you're losing and we're winning, because it's about right and wrong, and we're right and you're wrong. So reevaluate how you're going to handle things. And then what you're going to find is we're fine leaving you alone. but you got to leave us alone.
I'm not sure the left, the political left, though, is going to get the message.
No.
They're going to double down and triple down, even if it costs them politically, which is weird.
Yeah, precisely. All right. Speaking of that, will the left figure it out? Probably not. There was a really good article on redstate.com. Sister Toldjah, Stacey Matthews. She wrote it. She's going to be with us. What's it going to take for the left? Will they ever get their act together? Probably not. Not anytime soon. We'll chat with her right around 8:35.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A couple of quiet and pleasant days on the way here. Mostly sunny this afternoon, a high of 65. A light wind this morning turns out of the northwest at 8 to 13 miles per hour this afternoon. Just a few clouds tonight. We drop down to about 42 early Wednesday. A gold star day tomorrow. Sunny with a high of 66. Now, if you're heading downtown for the Cardinals opening day Thursday, let's be prepared for the possibility of rain. About a 40% chance of showers and storms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
The Trump administration is revoking legal status for hundreds of thousands of migrants led in by Joe Biden, but there's more to the story. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Administration is indeed revoking legal status for over 530,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. These migrants were allowed in under the previous administration under a mass parole program, given temporary legal status and 2-year permits to live and work. But don't forget, just ahead of the 2024 election in October of 2024, Joe's administration announced it would not be extending legal status to those hundreds of thousands migrants let in under their own program. The Trump administration is following through with the revocation of legal status. Yeah, that's correct. But what these media hacks and headline writers forget to add is that it was actually Joe and Kamala who did not extend their legal status. So save the fake outrage, liberal bleeding hearts. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
At Elite Comfort Experts, they don't believe in gimmicks, just guarantees. And now they're teaming up with Amana Heating and Air Conditioning to bring you a 99-year compressor and heat exchange warranty and a 10-year parts and labor warranty on a high new efficiency HVAC system. This exclusive offer is available on qualifying systems installed before April 15th. Choose integrity and quality. Choose Elite Comfort Experts. Call Elite at 636-887-0971 or visit EliteComfortExperts.com. Mention the promo code NewsTalkSTL.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka. CChiropractic.com. That's CChiropractic.com.
Cardinal Nation, it's time to paint the town red.
Opening day of Cardinal baseball at Busch Stadium.
And there's nothing else like it.
It's a St. Louis tradition.
Two things define St. Louis: Cardinal baseball and News Talk STL.
Play ball!
Opening day of Cardinal baseball at Busch Stadium is March 27th. Backed by our hometown favorites, Metro Shooting Supplies, PJ's Coffee, Freddy's Market, and Jules on Hampton.
Cardinal baseball!
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. What happens next?
My fellow citizens, the golden age of America begins right now.
Happens right here.
We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Speaker Tim Jones here. Make sure you listen to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show every day from 4 to 6 p.m. But right now, let's get back to our early morning media mogul, Mike Ferguson, in the morning.
You ever heard that phrase that politics is Hollywood for ugly people?
Yes.
And the problem is that there's a lot of just really bad actors out there. and right now, when you look at what's happening with the left, and we were just talking about the cultural battles that they picked, and now they're losing to the point where when some of their most staunch supporters of things like pride parades and pull out because it's just not worth it anymore, you would think that the left would get the message. You would think that after the last elections that the left would get the message. You are not in tune with where America. I don't even think that Americans necessarily said we never want Democrats again or we never want leftists again. I think we still need to constantly win those votes.
I think that they enjoy seeing themselves as the underdog that's fighting back against everything. And it reeks of a lack of self-awareness.
That's the key. Lack of self-awareness. They just can't get their stuff together. That has been a theme in a number of articles on Redstate. You know where his sister Toldjah. Stacey Matthews joins us once again. Stacey, thanks for being on the program here, because it's funny. Here's the little backstory on this. Is we were going to have this conversation, gosh, I don't know, not quite a week ago, Stacey, something like that. And of course, you got some scheduling things. And then I finally messaged you and said, I don't think the Democrats are going to get their act together within the next week. This is still going to be fresh and valid by Tuesday. Let's have the conversation. And turns out I was right, although that's not punditry. That's not fortune telling. That's just looking at the mess that the left is right now.
It's also predictability, because the left are pretty predictable in that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's the funny part is when you look at, for instance, what is it that people are responding to? One of the most fascinating things is going into the elections. One of the top 2 or 3 things that voters said, this is what is driving my concern. And it was illegal immigration. There was another survey just this past week. Illegal immigration is the last thing on the list people are concerned about now. It's less than 10% because the problem's been addressed, because results have been delivered and we see what's happening. But what are the left still out there fighting based on? They still want to fight based on abortion. They still want to fight based on the LGBT stuff. They still want to fight based on the gender ideology stuff. They still want to fight on these radical ideas that have been rejected. What is the block, Stacey, do you think, between the leftist strategist, I mean, like the so-called elitist out there, from seeing, boy, the voters just slapped us in the face on November at the presidential and the congressional level and the state level. Maybe we should listen to them instead of saying, voters, you were wrong. You'd better get on this radical left-wing ideology. What's that block to them?
It's the way they've always been, Mike. They never admit they're wrong. Whenever they lose an election big, like they did last November, what they do is they just try to adjust their strategy a little bit. But the message is still always the same: radical left, radical left. We need to go further to the left. And after November, I mean, that was one of the most resounding defeats I think we've ever seen, at least in many years. And for them to still continue to push the transgender agenda, to push back on illegal immigration, it's just astonishing to me that they continue to not get it. I mean, I was fascinated listening to your prior segment. There really has been a cultural shift, and I'll be honest with you, I never honestly thought that would happen in my lifetime. It just seemed like it was just baked in between television and podcasting and everything. It just seemed like everything was baked in for the left's cultural priorities to win the day, and Trump just came in and changed it, and it's just completely changed the political and cultural landscape in this country, to the point now where the left are on the wrong end of the spectrum for a change, and it feels really good.
Yeah, I mean, because in the years, and politics goes back and forth between left and right, Republican and Democrat, but the Democrats and the far left have really set up the right for extended success, because there are times when, you know what, it's a bad election cycle for the Republicans. Democrats made a lot of gains. And people like me, you know, we get frustrated because one of the first things that the Republicans are going to do is say, okay, which principles do we compromise in order to win? That that does not seem to be the mindset we're seeing on the left.
Right. Well, and I will say this though, and you guys have probably already talked about this. You do see some people talking about. Sorry, my TV just went up for some reason. You do see some people on the left, two prominent people, Bernie Sanders and Gavin Newsom. They seem to kind of get it a little bit, but it's not so much a thing that they actually believe. They're just trying to get a head start on 2028, I think, because you've seen Gavin Newsom. I think you mentioned this earlier, how he was kind of shifting his tone on issues like LGBTQ, the transgender part of that equation. And Bernie Sanders, I don't know if anybody caught this, but over the weekend when he was on the interview with John Carl, he had a major pivot on illegal immigration. And he's talking about how nobody supports illegal immigration. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. When did this? And he actually admitted that Joe Biden should have done a lot better than he did on illegal immigration. I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here? And what's going on here is that they're setting the stage for 2028. They're already, kind of planting the seed. Hey, we're not too far to the left on some of these issues you guys care about. That's what's going on. A few of them seem to get it, but it's only, it's not a sincere belief on their part. It's just a way to pivot to try to win some kind of center left voters and whatnot going into 2028. But I just kind of keep an eye out on that, because even though we're winning the cultural wars right now, these guys are going to kind of try to come back in a couple of years and say, hey, look at us again. We're not as far out there as you think we are, even though they are.
I think that's an excellent point, Stacey, because between now and the next election cycle, I think there's a lot of people who are looking at this going, we are rolling over the top of them. But between now and next August, and certainly now and next November in 2026 with the off-year elections, that is a lifetime in politics, and everything can change. And that's before you get into the next presidential race. I mean, lest anybody think that these victories are secure and this momentum cannot be stopped, that's on our side. History tells us you take that for granted, you can lose it.
Yes, and the GOP is notorious for taking victories for granted, as we all know. But Trump is not going to let people forget how far left the left is. He's consistently on message, and so as long as he's on message and he gets the people in line, I think we're going to do very well in 2026. Like I said, you're starting to see some pivoting as far as 2028, and I think you're probably going to see some of that for 2026 as well. But Bernie Sanders, to go back to what he was saying, he's actually urging people to run as independents versus Democrats going into 2026 and 2028, because, he says the Democrats, still don't get it on some of these issues, like what he calls the oligarchy and whatnot. So basically, Bernie Sanders in some ways is trying to burn the party down in order to save it, because if you get all these independents on the ballot in a lot of these blue, purple areas, you're setting Democrats up for a disaster, because you're going to split the ticket. So it's almost like in some ways he's trying to destroy the party in order to, quote, save it.
Right. Yeah. So what do you make of, like, for instance, his tours, Fight Oligarchy tour with the other genius of cultural observation, AOC, there as well? So basically they're doing a speaking tour, and to be fair, they've drawn some pretty big crowds to get out there to say, we're going to fight Trump. Okay, orange man bad, I get it, whatever. But basically to say, we want to pull the country farther to the left, but they're trying to meet Trump's populism with their own far left populism as well. Is there a market for that those of us on the right need to be concerned about, or at least keep an eye on?
I don't know if we need to be concerned about it, but we should keep an eye on it, because the left are masters of deception. And AOC, she seems to be almost kind of rebranding herself. And I know she's going out on tour with Bernie Sanders. They're kind of like minds on a lot of issues. But AOC, I don't know if anybody has noticed this over the last couple of years, but she's kind of moderated her tone to a certain extent. She's still far left, but she's kind of moderated her tone to some extent, to where she is not coming off as a member, as the leader of the squad, that she touted herself to be the first year she was in office. So I don't know if it's anything we need to be concerned about, but as always, definitely keep an eye because they are masters at deception.
Well, and you mentioned the squad. I mean, that's kind of a canary in the coal mine for the far left because there aren't too many of the squad members left in Congress because they were getting beat and some of them were getting beat in the primaries. So their own Democratic voters were rejecting them. That happened here in St. Louis with Cori Bush. I mean, it happened with Bowman. So there aren't quite as many squad members out there. So maybe some of the younger ones are getting that message. I personally, and it was funny. We had somebody in yesterday. You may have heard of her name, Susie Moore from Redstate.com, who was in here, and we were chatting about AOC and some of these others, some of those who frankly just come across as dumb. I mean, I'll be really honest. I don't mean dumb because they disagree with me, but just not that smart. And AOC and Susie said to me, and I think this was off the air, she said, "Don't underestimate her. I don't think she's as dumb as we originally thought she was." I'm not convinced of that, but I'm open to the argument because I mentioned, for instance, Jasmine Crockett is now the new kind of face. And then you got people like Don Lemon are saying AOC and Jasmine Crockett should be the face of the left. And we're over here saying, yes, please do that. Please do that. Because
Chris Murphy in Connecticut. Yeah.
Yes.
Please let these people be the face of the Democrat Party. Please.
And it's not that we don't have a couple dummies on our side who get national attention as well. And I get in trouble for criticizing them for being dumb but they're on our side. But listen, they're dumb. If they're dumb, they're dumb. Even if they get the votes right more often than not, they're still dumb. But with, the people like AOC, like Jasmine Crockett, like we got a few state reps around this area here as well. We can look at what we think is just ill-informed and uneducated and just a complete lack of understanding. But we also look at they do have an energetic following that the old school Democrats don't have anymore.
Yeah, they do. And AOC can really bring those people out. She, even with the Jamal Bowman, when it was the kind of writing was on the wall for Jamal Bowman, she held a rally for him. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the election, and that she drew a substantial crowd out there in New York City for him. So you can't underestimate them. They have a lot going for them. They've got, the George Soros money. They've got a lot going for them. But the problem is the messaging is off, and which is why you're seeing a lot of moderating in tone by the people, some of the people, not all. Like you said, Jasmine Crockett's kind of out there, but like the Bernie Sanders and the Gavin Newsoms, they're kind of trying to present themselves as kind of they're revolutionaries, but they're kind of moderate revolutionaries. Right. Like we need some change. We're not as crazy as you may think we are. That kind of thing. So you got to watch out for that because, like I said, they're masters of deception, and the media will go right along with it if it can help sweep them into office.
All right, that should be their campaign slogan for 2026. We're not as crazy as you think we are. I think that's what they should run with. All right, Stacey Matthews, a.k.a. Sister Toldjah from Red State. Find her work at redstate.com, and we tagged you on our social media already, Stacey. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
I'm telling you, I may copyright that. Mel, Stacey should do it because she came up with it. Democrats 2026. We're not as crazy as you think we are. Maybe we're not as crazy as we used to be. It would be honest if they actually did a little self-reflection, but I think they are as crazy as we think they are.
Yeah. Love your couch, but hate sinking into it? Custom Foam has your solution. We specialize in replacing your cushion foam with firmer options, firmer than anything you'll find in furniture stores, and a fraction of the cost of new furniture. Need extra firm support or soft cushioning for your back pillows? We have options you can test in person. From couches to window seats, dining chairs to custom projects. We'll have your furniture feeling like new in just a few days. We even offer same-day service. Visit custom-foam.com. That's custom-foam.com.
Looking for a unique dining experience? Discover a Findy Kitchen, the Midwest's only authentic Uyghur restaurant, now open in Chesterfield Valley. Join us for a culinary journey through halal Chinese cuisine that's already winning hearts in New York and LA. Our locally owned restaurant brings the vibrant flavors of Uyghur culture right to St. Louis. Visit us today and receive a free eco tote bag with any purchase over $35. A Findy Kitchen, where tradition meets taste. Find us in Chesterfield Valley or online at afindykitchen.com.
Spring has sprung at Daniel's Farming Greenhouses on Joggerman and St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farming Greenhouses. Visit us today on Juggerman or online at danielsfarminggreenhouses.com.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Should the St. Louis County Council be allowed to punish county department heads? David Stokes of Show Me explains the effects of Prop B at 420.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
Yeah, and of course, they're on from 9 to noon now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, with the new lineup that started yesterday. So fresh out of the radio oven. All right, this has been fascinating with a lot of these discussions, from the whole relationship thing to then the LGBT thing, and now the left. We kind of wrap this up. By the way, that discussion with Stacey Matthews, that's going to be up on our podcast here pretty quick, as all of our hours and the special features are as well. But it really, politically speaking, and not everything that's a culture war is decided politically.
Absolutely.
That's what's crucial. I would frankly love to get back to a point where politics is downstream from culture again, as opposed to we're having elections to determine our politics, which I think is what the left wants.
Yeah, that is something I've started to notice as well. Is there is always going to be a court of public opinion, but that usually should be organic within the community and within the people. But now it's people are voting for people to tell them what to think and what to do. And I don't understand that mentality even a little bit.
Well, but the left was better at leveraging the culture war issues than the right for the most part. Now, the right, when you look at it for a run there in the 80s, you had the moral majority, you had the 700 Club types, and the right basically leveraged religion in order to win a culture war and then turn that into election victories. Now you've got the left, which has went, wait a minute, we're not going to win over a lot of the churches, although there's an increasing number of left-wing churches.
Yes.
But we can certainly win over academia. We can certainly win over pop culture. We can certainly win over this new thing called social media. And so the culture wars have been leveraged in a whole different way, and the left generally is much better at it until they cross the line like they did somewhere around a year and a half ago.
Well,
maybe 2 years ago.
I was going to say, because you touched on it with education, if you look at who are the people that are the most commonly left, like proponents of the left, it's your entertainment industry, it's Hollywood, your musicians, your education system. So when you have all of that influence, especially on young, vulnerable youths who don't have that part of their brain developed yet, then of course they're going to grow up thinking, well, these are the people I like, and these are the people that are the right way to think, and then,
this is what's normal,
and this is how it should be. And because my generation, we can't go far. I mean, I barely remember 9/11, but I remember, like, I don't remember anything before the Patriot Act. I don't remember what it was like to actually go outside till, you know, the lights came on and not have a cell phone. So that's
Thanks
where
for making me feel really old right now. But yeah.
But that's where I think that a lot of it comes from, is that when you grow up under that system where that's normalized, you're not going to realize it's not normal.
Right. Right. Or it, historically it hasn't been. And so what's happening right now is that, you know, my age and older, we're like, no, we're done. We're drawing the line. We're pushing back. Your generation, because you're still in your 20s, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So your generation is now having to question what you thought was normal and what you were told was normal. And even at some point when the left went so extreme culturally, and we're talking, you know, the drag queens in grade schools and you know, the whole grooming stuff and the mutilation of the body stuff. At some point, your generation, many who grew up being taught, well, that's just normal. That's just, you know, different, you know, sex is not binary, all this kind of garbage. You're now, a lot of your age group is going, wait a minute, was that right? I mean, and it's harder to change your mind than it is to just decide to dig your heels in.
Yes. So that's a good point about my generation as well, is that you do have the people where it's like, you know, when your generation wants to go back towards, you know, this is the way it was, how it should be, how it worked. There are people that are saying, well, you're taking away our rights, you're taking away our freedoms and our liberties, not realizing that this is a relatively recent thing. Whereas I think we're experiencing a very strong awakening of people that are actually doing the research, going back and saying, no, this is a more recent thing. It's a failed experiment.
Right. Right. Because, and some of the examples I've seen, you know, are like, for instance, you know, somebody like Ben Shapiro giving an address to a college group. And of course they line up to argue and yell like some, you know, 19-year-old college kid's going to be able to match wits with Ben Shapiro, which is you know, and at one point, you know, they are asking questions, just assuming, well, we all know that, you know, there are multiple genders and many and Ben Shapiro at one point, he goes, well, that's interesting you say that, because until 5 minutes ago, everybody in Western, you know, society throughout history recognized male, female. That's it. You know, and some of the people out there did not realize that, oh, this is a new thing.
Well, it's like Men in Black, that quote, you know, 1,000 years ago, we knew the earth was flat. You know, today we know that aliens don't exist. Imagine what we'll know tomorrow.
Right.
That's, you know, pretty good summary of it.
All right. That was a lot of great discussion, everybody. That was a lot of fun too. Vic Porcelli coming your way just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
At Complete Forestry Mulching, we're not just clearing land, we're creating possibilities.